politics and also the former attempt on the former president. You've got Iran wanting to, he's in their scope, so to speak, as well. So given all of that, what does this say to you? What does this say to you, Charles?
Well, Arthel, it sounds like we're talking about a lot of the same things that we were discussing after Butler and the situation that took place there with the attempted assassination. And that is the Secret Service doing everything that they should be to match the current threat level, both against the former president and here in the United States in general? And that's going to come to a point of asking once again about perimeters. And how close did this individual get to the former president while armed with this AK? And the Secret Service is going to have to answer that question. And do the perimeters match? And are street closures, for example, being executed in a manner in which they should, where public roadways have direct visibility to the former president, as it did in this case on the fifth hole? So the Secret Service is going to have to demonstrate that they are establishing reasonable perimeters that are taking into account the entire host of threats that the former president is facing.
Indeed. Charles Marino, former U.S. Secret Service agent, thank you so much. Eric?
Thank you.
Next, Arthel. Well, former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker back with us as we wait for this news conference to start. Nicole, the AP reporting, the suspect pushed the muzzle of his weapon through the fence line. So this guy had the weapon, an AK-47, allegedly pushed it through the fence line. That's when the advance team, the FBI or the Secret Service advance team, is a few holes ahead of the former president, scoping out the area, looking for threats like this. That's when an agent opened fire, at least one, at the suspect. The suspect not hit, able to flee in his SUV, captured by Martin County police on I-95. Again, that question, it's too close to call. I mean, this is just too close to have a potential gunman be able to fit the muzzle through a fence line, potentially aiming at a former president. Your thoughts?
I absolutely agree with you. That's alarming and chilling that was even possible. But again, like I said, this green, the fifth hole.
We are going to give you.
Nicole, let's go to the news conference and listen.
From the FBI, from the Secret Service, from the State Attorney's Office, we are going to give you everything we have. Everything. All right? So when we get done, think about your questions, because we're not going to take a lot, and keep them to the information that you heard. Don't get into what ifs, and because of this, we're not going to go there, all right? So keep that in mind, and we'll be good. So here we go. All right, 1:30 this afternoon. Call came out, shots fired. That was called in by the Secret Service. Because we're in constant contact with them all the time, we were notified of that, and we had units here that immediately sealed off the area. Fortunately, we were able to locate a witness that came to us and said, hey, I saw the guy running out of the bushes. He jumped into a black Nissan, and I took a picture of the vehicle and the tag, which was great. So we had that information. Our real-time crime center put it out to the license plate readers. And we were able to get a hit on that vehicle on I-95 as it was headed into Martin County. We got a hold of Martin County Sheriff's Office, alerted them, and they spotted the vehicle and pulled it over and detained the guy. After that, we took the the witness that witnessed the incident, flew him up there, and he identified as the person that he saw running out of the bushes and jumped into the car. Now, in the bushes where this guy was is a AK-47 style rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks which were hung on the fence that had ceramic tile in them, and a GoPro, which he was going to take pictures of. So those are being processed right now. The Secret Service agent that was on the course did a fantastic job. What they do is they have an agent that jumps one hole ahead of time to where the president was at. And he was able to spot this rifle barrel sticking out of the fence and immediately engage that individual, at which time the individual took off. So that's what we know about the investigation. We have somebody in custody right now that is a potential suspect. We got a little bit more work to do on it, But as we usually do, as soon as we decide that we're going to book him into the county jail and the charges that he's going to be booked into, we'll get those to you, and we'll get a picture of him, and we'll get you his background. So now I'm going to turn it over to the representative of the Secret Service, and he's going to make a brief statement.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I first want to thank all of our law enforcement partners, to include the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office and the Martin County Sheriff's Office, for their involvement today. Former President Donald Trump is safe and unharmed following a protective incident shortly before 2 p.m. on Sunday at Trump International Golf Club at West Palm Beach. The U.S. Secret Service personnel opened fire on a gunman located near the property line, and this matter is under investigation. I'll turn it over to my partners over at the FBI.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Veltri. I'm the special agent in charge of the FBI's Miami field office. The FBI has assumed the role as the lead federal law enforcement agency in the investigation of the incident that occurred earlier today at Trump International Golf Course here in West Palm Beach, Florida. We've deployed a number of resources, including investigative teams, crisis response team members, bomb technicians, and evidence response team members as well. What we need right now is for the public to avoid the area around the golf course. We will continue to support this investigation with the full resources of the FBI, alongside our partners with the United States Secret Service and the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, as well as Martin County Sheriff's Office and state and local law enforcement. I would ask that if anyone has any information that may assist with this investigation, to contact our tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI or at tips, that's TIPS .FBI.gov. Thank you.
David?
Hi, I'm Dave Ehrenberg, State Attorney for Palm Beach County. I want to thank Sheriff Bradshaw and our partners at the local, state, and federal levels. I'm here because our prosecutors are currently working up warrants and a motion for pretrial detention for the suspect. In that way, he will be kept in custody. But our filing of these warrants and charges at the state level does not preclude federal charges that could be coming. But in the meantime, it looks like the warrants and the pretrial detention motion will happen first. And again, I want to thank the cooperation we've had with our federal partners and at the local level. And thank you all for being here today.
Okay, we're going to make these pictures available to you. It'll show you a picture of the backpack and the rifle. And there's also a GoPro on the fence there where he was intent on filming what was going on. Even though we're going to have to secure a couple of areas around the golf course here, the public doesn't need to panic. We know that we got a post office, a library, and a school down the street. So we'll make it convenient for you to get to all the places you need to go, get your kids to school, get them over here to the post office or wherever else you need to go. It's safe. There's no more danger here, and we'll make it very convenient for you. So having said that, we're going to take a very limited amount of questions, and you can direct them to who you want to answer the question.
Sheriff, did this individual make any statements as he was being detained?
No statement right now as far as his involvement in the incident, and there's further investigation to be completed.
What was his demeanor like?
Yeah, I'm not sure if maybe the Secret Service gentleman answered. I misunderstood, or I couldn't quite understand. So there was a rifle. So one of your agents saw on the golf course a rifle pointing through a fence. Was it the chain link? Okay, so he saw that, the agent.
That is correct, yes.
And the president or the former president was on the course behind him. How close?
It was 1 or 2 holes behind.
1 or 2.
That because the bubble moves through the golf course, so our agents will get there first, clear it. He noticed that the rifle was pointed out. Our agents engaged. We are not sure right now if the individual was able to take a shot at our agents, but for sure our agents were able to engage with the subject. I don't know that.
Doesn't appear so.
Is there more?
Yep. Al.
How far away was the president? How far away was Donald Trump when this gentleman was caught and stopped?
I got it. Probably between 300 and 500 yards, but with a rifle and a scope like that, that's not a long distance.
For the Secret Service, how far was your agent from the would-be assailant?
That I'm not sure right now. That's
How was this able to happen, and for future reference, is there any security in the golf course?
Well, you got to understand the golf course is surrounded by shrubbery, so when somebody gets into the shrubbery, they're pretty much out of sight. All right, and at this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around him. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible. So I would imagine that the next time he comes to the golf course, there'll probably be a little bit more people around the perimeter. But the Secret Service did exactly what they should have done. They provided exactly what the protection should have been, and their agent did a fantastic job.
Which direction was the shrubbery where he was? North, south? I guess east, west, or south is the road?
The layout of the golf course, you've got 3 holes, 5, 6, and 7. All right? One of them runs parallel to Summit Boulevard. One of them runs parallel to Congress. And he was in an area in the shrubbery where he could see both holes. So the president was another hole back, which means he's about between 400 and 500 yards away.
So he was on the golf course?
Oh, he's on the golf course, yeah, but he's back a ways.
For the Secret Service, have you guys changed at all the way that you guys are protecting former President Donald Trump? This is now a potential second attempt on him. Can you just elaborate on how things have changed and what you make of all this?
yes. The threat level is high. We have increased the amount of assets that we've supported. So we live in danger times. So yes.
We're done with questions right now. There's really nothing more for us to add. I just want to tell you, the Secret Service and the FBI and the State Attorney's Office have been fantastic to work with. And I can tell you right now, our agency with this real-time crime center was fabulous. That's how we got the guy. We started out with, we don't know anything, to where we had a tag, we had a vehicle description, and we got an area where we saw the person. So be proud of your law enforcement. All right, thanks, folks. We'll get back to you.
Where on 95 was it?
There it is, an attempted assassination of President Trump, say officials yet again. A suspect in custody after a Secret Service agent saw a muzzle poking through the chain link fence in the bushes at the Trump International Golf Course in West Palm Beach, Florida. The president we just heard was from 300 to 500 yards away. A Secret Service advance agent opened fire at the gunman. Officials just said that with the rifle and the scope, that's not a far distance. A witness saw that gunman, alerted police, took a photo of the SUV and the license plate. They were able to then get the SUV on I-95. The Secret Service said the sheriff did an excellent job, exactly what they should have done. Their agents did, he said, a fantastic job. A tragedy averted today. Our continuing coverage of this assassination attempt, the second one of former President Trump, continues. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Shawn.
And I'm Molly Line. Eric, good to be with you. Dramatic breaking news right now. Former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker will be joining us here in just a moment. The AP reporting that the suspect pushed the muzzle out of the muzzle of the weapon through that fence line. That was just relayed in that press conference as well. And that is when the advance team spotted things and began to move in a few holes ahead of the former president, opening fire at the suspect, who fled and then was swiftly captured there in the nearby neighboring county of Martin County. After that witness had spotted him getting into a vehicle, taking a picture of that vehicle, that information rapidly relayed, allowing the capture to occur swiftly.
Vice President Harris says that she is glad that the former president is safe, as well as President Biden saying the same. We have much more on all this. Lucas Tomlinson is standing by at the White House with the very latest from there. Lucas?
Well, Eric, here's what we know based on that press conference from the Palm Beach County Sheriff and the FBI. At 1:30 p.m. that was the first report of shots fired by the Secret Service. Units immediately sealed off the area and got former President Trump off the golf course. The suspect, who you just mentioned, was found hiding in the bushes with a clear line of sight of the golf holes, jumped out of the bushes and into a black Nissan, and a witness reported the car and the license plate to the police. The suspect left at the scene an AK-47 rifle with scope, 2 backpacks, and a GoPro camera. The FBI is leading the investigation, and of course, this is the second assassination attempt on former President Trump since July 13th. The FBI added that Trump was only 300 to 500 yards away from the shooter, and they said that with a scope and this AK-47 rifle, had a potential clear line of sight, certainly within range of that weapon, to be able to do harm to the former president. Eric?
Lucas, a lot of questions. Why wasn't that street closed? And the sheriff said that the level of security for a former president is not as much for a current president, but just the fact that this gunman could apparently get within a few hundred yards with that scope and could have potentially opened fire if not had been seen by the advance team. Raises a lot of new questions about this. What do you think we'll see from the Capitol Hill this week?
There's no question, Eric, and the fact that this is taking place almost exactly 2 months after the former president was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. That was certainly stood out in that press conference when that officer said because he's a former president, he does not afford the same protections of a sitting president. But certainly there are going to be critics that say so soon, just 2 months after he was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, why didn't former President Trump have more of a detail? How was an armed gunman allowed to get so close to Trump International Golf Club? It's a private club. Those bushes, if you drive down that road, it's right outside West Palm Beach Airport. The golf course is sealed off. And as the officer said, the sheriff, you could not see the gunman because he was hiding in the bushes, but there's a chain link fence within those bushes and certainly a clear line of sight. He was waiting a few holes ahead of where the president was going to be playing through. We heard earlier from Sean Hannity that the former president said that he was on the 5th hole when these shots rang out. We now learned those are from the Secret Service, who saw this individual moving in a position to potentially kill the former president. That's when they opened fire.
And Lucas, considering this is the second assassination attempt, the second in 2 months, isn't it incumbent for the Biden administration and Congress to ramp up security of the former president immediately, considering the fact that someone with a AK-47 style rifle was able to put a muzzle through a chain link fence with the former president of the United States just a few hundred yards away?
Many of our viewers, many people will agree with you, Eric, in the fact that this assassin was hiding in the bushes on an area that was clearly not sealed off. We heard when the former head of the Secret Service testified before Congress, and members of Congress said, why wasn't the perimeter sealed off to the effective range of an AR-15? Now we're talking about an AK-47. The ranges are very similar. Why was this gunman allowed to get so close to the former president while playing golf, have a potential clear line of sight, have a bead on the former president? Certainly many lawmakers are going to be angry. You have heard from Congressman Mike Waltz on X, who's on the assassination investigative task force. He's asking questions already, and certainly now that Congress is back in session, there's no question there's going to be more heat coming from Capitol Hill about this.
Yeah, we're looking at photos now of where the Martin County Sheriff's Office was able to pull over and stop the SUV with the suspected gunman in it. They said he had flat expression, no affect at all. He didn't ask, why are you stopping me? That's when they were able to stop him, thankfully, because of the electronic surveillance. Just amazing. Through the license plate readers, they got the license plate because of that witness took a photo of the license plate. So you can immediately kick in the computers to find out where that vehicle is. And finally, Lucas, before I let you go, the fact that he had a GoPro, does that indicate potentially that this gunman planned an assassination of President Trump and then put it up on social media?
Well, Eric, there's no question that these are questions that officials are going to be asking. Certainly, we've seen overseas terrorists use GoPros to film atrocities. Now, it's very early. It's notable we did not get a description of the suspect. We do not have a name of the suspect. We're told those details will come out soon. We did not get a description of the suspect, where he's from, what he looks like. But there's no question when you hear GoPro, that indicates that someone wanted to not only assassinate the former president, but do it so that all could see. But again, it's very early. We do not have a description of the suspect, but certainly this is the kind of behavior we've seen before.
All right, Lucas, so disturbing. Thankfully, a tragedy averted, but pretty close. Thank you. Molly?
Great point there, Eric. Former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker joining me now to talk about this. Nicole, thanks for your insights. I'm sure you heard much of that press conference as well. A lot of disturbing information. Here we are just 2 months removed from Butler, Pennsylvania. Still so many questions about that investigation. And here we have another would-be assassin coming within range, within hundreds of yards of the president playing golf, sticking a rifle, an AK-47, through the fence line at this golf course where he's known to play golf. I want to get your thoughts on what we know so far, the information that was just relayed by the authorities.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the authorities for having a press conference, because in light of what happened July 13th, there was little to no information provided to the American people. And Secret Service wasn't even present at that initial conference that they press conference that they hosted. So I do appreciate that the local law enforcement, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, they're amazing. I worked with them when I was in the FBI. I was here in the FBI Miami division. They are outstanding, as well as the Secret Service was there, as well as the special agent in charge of FBI Miami. And again, they are the law enforcement agency that will be taking over this investigation. But make no mistake about it, this is all hands on deck. It's not just going to be an FBI investigation. They will be working very closely with local, state, and federal law enforcement partners in this case. I think what really I find heroic in this, obviously, is the Secret Service agent. I think a lot of us, I know, I worked with Secret Service agents. I've worked at events with them. They are incredible. The rank and file agents that I worked with were awesome. They are great. But you know what? There were some cracks in the system and some vulnerabilities that were highly exposed on July 13th, and major mistakes that still need to be accounted for. Like you said, that was just so recently, 2 months ago. Okay. And here we are again. How many times does Trump's life have to be in jeopardy for them to say, you know what? He may be a former president, but frankly, he has more risk on his shoulders than probably any other person in the country or the world right now. I frankly don't care if he's the former president of the United States. How many potential assassination attempts have to occur before they say, you know what, we are going to give the absolute full resources possible to President Trump? Even though he is a candidate at this point and a former president, I believe that he deserves that for his own peace of mind, for his family's peace of mind, and for our country's peace of mind. And I frankly don't believe that anyone would dispute that at this moment. So that's one thing I'd like to say. Another important part that I found from this press conference, it was the witness. It was the individual that saw this male shuffling out of the bushes who provided. They had the wherewithal and the quick thinking to say, you know what, I should probably take a picture of that tag, identify the car, do whatever I can. In law enforcement, our job, we do just as well as we can, but without the support of civilians and everyday citizens, if you see something, say something. And sadly, many times lately, people have seen something and said something to law enforcement, and nothing happens.
Well, that happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. There was a man on the ground that was suspicious. There were, people pointing this out, taking pictures. A vehicle that was quickly apprehended because of communication. And as you mentioned, the bravery of this witness and getting that information swiftly to the law enforcement on the ground that then shared it, working together.
Correct. And phenomenal work by that Secret Service agent. I don't know who they are. Obviously, they have not yet been identified. Phenomenal work to see a muzzle coming through a fence, a chain link fence. Again, I've been to that golf course. It's just west of I-95, just north of, this happened in Palm Beach. The person was arrested in Martin County, just north of Palm Beach. But to be able to identify that is huge. And for them to immediately take action, they didn't wait. Molly, they didn't wait. Like, we don't have time to wait anymore. President Trump's life is on the line. And thank goodness that agent said, you know what, it's time to act. And thank goodness to the witness who said, I'm going to take down this information and give it to law enforcement. It was a seamless, to me, kudos to all of law enforcement. They immediately provided it to the locals. It goes through the chain of events. They put the bolo out and they immediately went. They followed this individual. They were able to do a traffic stop on I-95, stop him, and he is now in custody alive. He's been apprehended alive, and they can question him and ask him everything they want. Hopefully he is willing to speak. But I myself have many questions. As an investigator, that GoPro, that tells a lot.
Well,
He
that
had
was what I was going to
intention
say.
of
You
doing
know
this.
about the suspects and about what drives them and all sorts of psychological information as well. What does that tell us, that there was this GoPro in the bushes, and the way the sheriff put it was he was intent on filming what was going on? Your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I think that GoPro is extremely telling of his intent. This was this person didn't just show up today and say, hey, you know what, I think I might just go to this golf course and maybe go to the fence. This was very planned out, very methodical. And again, we don't know how this individual got to this point. Again, did he stand outside Mar-a-Lago or hang out in the vicinity and see the motorcade coming to the golf course? We don't know. But what I can tell you is it sounds like it was very well planned out, and that they had, the GoPro, and they wanted this to be a public thing. What was the grievance? You always try to get into the mind of the suspect or the criminal. What drove them to do this? What was their motivating factor? These are all very important questions, very preliminary to be asking right now, but law enforcement is going to scrub upside down and inside out until they're still working on the case from Butler. There's still not a clear motive from the FBI on the Butler incident. I believe that law enforcement is being spread very thin, and those that are having the ability to conduct these investigations, crimes in our country are happening so quickly. Law enforcement is just focused on one, and then there's another assassination attempt on President Trump, potentially. And so again, law enforcement, we need to show our respect and admiration. They need our support right now. They've got a lot on their shoulders, but I have no doubt that the solid rank and file agents who are doing the right thing are going to provide answers for this country, and there needs to be full transparency.
All right. And Nicole Parker, thank you very much. Eric, to you.
Thanks, Molly. Well, it was as close as a muzzle poking through a chain link fence in the bushes. Think about that just for a second. You know what it's like when you go to a golf course or outside, there's a chain link fence. There's the backpack that was shown at the news conference, 2 backpacks that they say the gunman had. What are the chances of a muzzle sticking through one of those little holes in the chain link fence? A Secret Service advanced team agent sees that. That potentially saved the life of a former president of the United States. Why did it get that far? Why did it get to that point? Why wasn't there more? Let's bring in former Secret Service Supervisory Special Agent Keith Wojcik. Keith, we have to laud and have tremendous gratitude to the professionalism of that Secret Service agent who's part of the advance team. They go a couple of holes ahead of the president to scope out the area. Can you imagine that you stop an assassination of a former president by seeing a muzzle poking through a fence? There has to be more than this done. Why wasn't there more protection? We heard the sheriff say he's not the sitting president. Isn't it time to provide him similar protection as the sitting president of the United States?
Thank you very much for the question. It's a great question. Thank you very much for having me on. That's my question too, right? What went on? But I have to say, well, I've done a lot of protection in my time, and doing it with President Obama and former presidents on the counter assault team. We were actually at the golf course golfing a lot and understanding what we're looking at, the circumstances around it, always having to keep your heads on a swivel, understanding your surroundings. Looking at that photo, I am truly shocked and so appreciative of the agent that spotted that rifle. Because if you look at it, it is very difficult. There's leaves, there's a fence, there's shrubs, there's all kinds of different things. The fact that they spotted that and then acted without hesitation, to me, is amazing. And so, like you said, though, but why does it have to get to there? And that's a question I think that they have to answer. Ron Rowe, being the U.S. Secret Service director now, is going to have to answer that, like what happened and why. And I'm sure he will. There may be more circumstances we're unaware of. But the fact that they did spot that in a very, very difficult surroundings, we go through training. What they use me as with the counter assault team went through trainings like this on a daily routine. But have it in real life, not be panicked and make an engagement like that is amazing. So I don't know what the answer is to that, but I think we're going to find out here for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if he was the sitting president, that street would have been closed. If he was the sitting president, they would have had covers in areas. Like, what type of precaution did you take when former President Obama was on the golf course to make this would not have happened if those same security levels were enacted?
That's very difficult because, especially with a golf course, it's a moving perimeter, just like a motorcade. You can only control what you control within your environment. And I don't know the mapping. I'm not sure of the street that they went on. But, are there different surveillance units? Of course there are. But you're talking a large area. Should this have happened 63 days after a prior attempt? Absolutely not, right? I think there is something that needs to be looked at. Okay, where was the gap again? And I hate to even say that again. But I believe the Secret Service will investigate this. And as a prior guest had said, address it and probably close down the streets now. But again, how are you able to close down the streets? How much is that impeding other things? Because you have to think of other things too, right? Routing traffic, infrastructure. There's more than just, unfortunately, there's more than just that's at stake.
Sometimes the president would go to Andrews Air Force Base, I guess, and play golf over at Andrews. That's a very secure area. And in this case, when you've got like that chain link fence, we're looking at it right now. Thankfully, a witness saw the gunman, took a photograph of the car, the vehicle, the black Nissan SUV, and the license plate, so they're able to pull him over and get him. What does it tell you when a gunman is able to secrete himself inside bushes, hang those knapsacks on a fence, and have a GoPro, which he potentially could put on social media to record what he perhaps allegedly thought was the assassination of a former president?
I'll tell you, first of all, you said the best thing ever. Golfing at Andrews, it was always a great thing. Not that security lacks, but you also have the U.S. military there, which made things a lot less stress-free. But there was still stress. Transferring that to an open golf course, a public-private, in an open area that's not secure under a military establishment, is difficult, right? What I'd like to see come out of this is what's on that GoPro. Because I believe what you had said earlier is right, that social media may be a play in this. It may be very big. Are they going to display it? How was this terrorist related? Was this just a sole incident? This is something we have to find out. Now, another thing is, can we identify how long that individual was there? Because maybe they knew he was golfing. Sometimes the public, and I don't know if this was scheduled or it's on the news. Could he have been there 12 hours? We don't know. And I think that's something we need to know, because there are sweeps, there are things going around. But having that, they have like a front perimeter and a back perimeter, identified that the way they did, just amazing.
Well, how often would they do a sweep for a former president? I mean, look what happened at the DNC. Someone placed a bomb. That suspect still not caught. Right at the I guess the DNC in Capitol Hill, and that they missed that in the sweep.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to look at that and see where these gaps are. I'm not of the know of the sweep itself when it comes to they've changed their policies. But I'll tell you, they do sweeps. They do understand the circumstances. Now, again, 63 days apart. This needs to be acted. This needs to be quickly. This needs to be identified quickly, adapted quickly, and mitigated quickly to make sure that this does not happen again. We all know that. So we need to address that.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Here's the Palm Beach sheriff a few moments ago at the news conference. Let's listen.
The golf course is surrounded by shrubbery, so when somebody gets into the shrubbery, they're pretty much out of sight. All right? And at this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible. So I would imagine that the next time he comes to the golf course, there'll probably be a little bit more people around the perimeter.
What strikes me about that comment is he's not the sitting president, and he's not. Former presidents do not receive, of course, the same level of security as sitting presidents do. But I'm going to end with the way I began this interview. Don't you think it's time that he get near the level, perhaps, of a sitting president? It does take more resources. It does take more money. It does take more cooperation, coordination with local law enforcement. But at least close the streets, for God's sake, around where former President Trump is, so no one can hide in some bushes. And by the stroke and luck of God, a Secret Service agent saw a muzzle in bushes and was able to prevent a tragedy.
Yeah, you're right. And it may have been an act of God, like you said. And like I said, the accolades to the Secret Service agent, which I'm assuming probably a counter-assault team guy at the head of the time, was trained very well to do that. But I think you're right. I think that they need to do an assessment of all current or incumbent presidents, nominees. I think they need to do a reassessment of that and see what the vulnerabilities are. Because at that point, I think you could see maybe there are gaps. Maybe we do need to bolster something. But a real assessment needs to be taking place, not just an aftermath of a reaction. We need to take a proactive measure, find out what the true serious risks are, address them appropriately, and then push those out. That's how we do it anywhere else. I'm hoping that Ron Rowe and the Secret Service do a complete assessment with the help of the FBI, of course, in addressing what went wrong and how do we address it in the future.
We will hear a lot more about this. Keith Hozek, a former supervisory agent with the U.S. Secret Service. Keith, thank you, and thank you for your service to our nation, protecting.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
The people we elect. Molly?
Now time to bring in former FBI investigator Bill Daley right now. Bill, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your insight. I'm sure you had a chance to listen to that unfolding press conference as well as we did. If we're moving this a little bit forward, we know they have the vehicle. We know they have a backpack, a GoPro, a gun. The vehicle hatch on that was open, a fairly large vehicle. I would imagine now they might even begin looking at properties. Where do things stand? Very little information about this alleged would-be assassin. But what do you think?
Yeah, good question. Because of course, those questions we just heard before, one kind of look a little bit further retrospectively, and I'm sure they will be examined very closely by the Secret Service, but by Congress. I think right now, however, given the fact that the FBI really has the kind of quote ticket on this, it does fall at least under Title 18 U.S. Code 879, which are threats against the former president. There may be some other federal charges that could be leveled against this individual, as well as local charges as well. However, I think the key thing here is that as the investigation starts to unfold, as is going on right now, I think a very positive thing is that we do have this suspect alive. That's not what we had in Butler. There's a chance that we may glean more from either his statements, his demeanor. At least that's available to investigators. If not now, then certainly down the road if he decides to speak with them. But more immediately is that I am sure right now the FBI is going before judges or magistrates to get search warrants for not just the vehicle, which has been impounded and taken over by the Florida, I believe it's the Florida Highway Patrol, if not the Martin County Department. However, they will turn it over to the FBI. They also want to go look at this person's residence or residences, wherever this person may have been living. And I think something there we need to be concerned about, because we have seen this certainly with Butler, where with these improvised explosive devices, it seems to be somewhat of a pattern. We've had that even with other people involved in some mass shootings and school shootings, where there may be some devices at their home. So law enforcement should be very careful when they go about conducting that search warrant to get inside those residences. And I think, as we've kind of talked before about many of these incidents, certainly that digital footprint is extremely important. It's looking at seeing whether or not there are any statements either online or resident on a computer, or perhaps were tried to be erased from a computer, that might give more of an understanding as to motive behind this incident. So I think there are a number of things unfolding right now. They're in process. I think as we know, a lot of these cases, early on, the information we hear is a bit different than what actually happened that comes out later on. But I think right now, those investigative steps they're taking are important. As I said, the fact that the suspect is alive is certainly helpful to investigators.
Making a great point. Back when the Boston Marathon, in the wake of the hours after the Boston Marathon suspect was taken into custody, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, they invoked essentially what was a public safety exception. If this individual that they have now, the suspect in custody, is that something that could be going on? We don't know if this was a lone actor or not yet. We have little information about this person.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, in cases where there may be an immediate threat to the public or other individuals, is that that exception can be made, and they, as they would, for instance, in a terrorist incident, to see whether or not there are other compatriots out there, whether there's other plans, and be able to kind of thwart those plans and make sure that other people are safe. So it's very possible that they may decide to take that approach on it. I think this whole issue of kind of digital footprint, we need to also kind of look and say, my view, when I'm hearing this, I'm hearing the story as it unfolded, at least as far as we know right now, between the muzzle of the gun, a bystander having a picture of the vehicle, the immediate response by police, extraordinary, where the bowler, be on the lookout, goes out, and within minutes, between using sophisticated licensed scanners on vehicles, police vehicles are able to kind of capture this individual. But I think now we need to go back and say, was this person canvassing this course before? Is this something because of the former president's pattern when he plays golf, where he goes? Is that known? We can track his footprint through his through his phone to see whether or not he was in that vicinity, how close he was to the golf course previously. So there are a lot of things that are going to be going on beyond just the fact that we want to make sure that this person, if he did act alone, he acted alone, that there are no other outside or international supporters of his actions, or what was he planning to do with the GoPro camera? I mean, that, and I think as Nicole told you in the first incident, I mean, that kind of really sounds some bells in my mind, is that if he was looking to kind of hang a camera out there, take a picture, was that to substantiate what he was doing to people who asked him to do it? Or was this something that he just wanted to do for his own personal ego, whether it was even post-mortem, if he didn't think he was going to get away with it, he was going to post this, or someone's going to post it, and you have pictures of him, what he was doing. So there are a lot of questions around that, but certainly that goes to show there was some planning ahead of time, is that he seemed to know, at least early on, where to go, the possible opportunity to kind of see through that fence to a certain kind of soft spot where he may have seen that there was access to the former president who might be passing by in a golf cart or be on a certain tee or on a green. So that's going to go a long way to understanding how much ahead of time did the planning go into this, putting aside the fact of access to the weapon and some of these other aspects which also play in to how much planning went into it.
Yeah, thank you, Bill Daley. We really appreciate your insight. As the sheriff had noted about that GoPro, that he was potentially intent on filming what was going on in that first assassination attempt. Former President Trump was on stage, a national audience. So that may all have played into this. Great questions, great insights. Bill Daley, thank you very much. We really appreciate your insights.
So who is this suspect who's now in custody, who authorities say tried to assassinate former President Trump, the second such incident just in the last 2 months? We'll have more information about this suspect and about the ongoing investigation at the shocking incident this afternoon. Thankfully, former President Trump is okay. Our Fox News coverage continues right after this.
There are some things that work better together, like your workplace benefits and retirement savings. Voya provides tools that help you make the right investment and benefit choices so you can reach today's financial goals and look forward to a more confident future.
Voya, well planned, well invested, well protected.
Hi! Need new glasses? Buy one pair, get one free at VisionWorks. How can you see me squinting? I can't, I'm just telling everyone. Hey!
Buy one pair, get one free for back to school. VisionWorks. See the difference.
If you're shopping for a home, Realtor.com's Real Commute tool lets you find homes close to work, school, even grandma's house.
Don't all apps do that?
Not really. Trust the #1 app real estate professionals trust.
As a cardiologist, when I put my patients on a statin to reduce cholesterol, I also tell them it can deplete their CoQ10 levels. I recommend taking Cunol CoQ10. Cunol has 3 times better absorption than regular CoQ10. Cunol, the brand I trust.
This is our last chance to help save thousands of Holocaust survivors who are suffering in the former Soviet Union today. The needs that these forgotten Jews have are something beyond anything you can imagine.
Have you eaten this morning?
I ate the carrot, so I ate half of it yesterday, and I had it today for breakfast. And this is what she ate in 2 days, 1 carrot. Please pray for me.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews began this ministry to help elderly Jews living in horrible poverty around the world. We urgently need your gift of $25 now to help provide one survival food box with all of the foods they critically need for their diet for 1 month.
I am very proud to partner and align with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. This trusted ministry is giving Christians like me a way to bless elderly Jewish people who live in extreme poverty around the world.
I believe in God, but I sometimes feel maybe He forgot me. Perhaps you could tell my story, and I would find a matching soul that would understand. I face hunger again.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online now to help rush one survival food box to a Holocaust survivor who is suffering and in desperate need.
This is what God wants from us. Just feed the hungry.
If you hear God's voice, I'm asking you to act now. Do it when it's on your heart. I pray that they'll know in their final months that they're not alone.
Don't mind me. I'm just the flu. I'm quite harmless, really. And when people ask, but aren't you linked to dangerous flu complications like pneumonia, heart attack, and hospitalizations? I just say, but I'm just the flu. It's him. Who? I'm just the flu.
Demand more from your flu shot. Sanofi higher dose flu vaccines are proven to provide better flu protection than standard dose flu shots in older adults. They've even been shown to better protect against flu-related complications.
Don't give Fluzone high dose if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its components, including egg products, or after previous dose of flu vaccine. Don't give Flublok if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its components. Tell your healthcare professional if you've had severe muscle weakness after a flu shot. Fainting has occurred. People with weakened immune systems may have a lower vaccine response.
All flu shots are not the same. Ask for a Sanofi higher dose flu vaccine. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about Fluzone high dose or Flublok.
Law enforcement speaking about what is being investigated as a possible second attempted assassination of former President Trump at a golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida. The Trump campaign releasing the statement just after 2 p.m. Eastern. President Trump is safe following gunshots in his vicinity. No further details at this time. Good evening. I'm Molly Line. Eric, good to be with you.
Hello, Molly. I'm Eric Shawn. Thank you for joining us, folks, in this special edition, 2 hours of the Fox Report. It was a tragedy so narrowly averted this afternoon. A Secret Service agent on the advance team on the golf course, a few holes ahead of the former president as he played the Trump International Golf Course. He was in the 5th hole in West Palm Beach, Florida, while that agent spotted a muzzle of a weapon poking through a chain-link fence. The gunman secreted by bushes. That agent opening fire, the suspect now in custody. David Spunt on the phone now with more on that suspect and this developing story that came so close, it seems. Hi, David.
Yeah, hey, Eric. Hey, Molly. We're told the suspect's name is Ryan Wesley Ruth, R-O-U-T-H. Not much more known about him at this time, except that he's the suspect currently in custody right now. Palm Beach Sheriff's Office says that he was taken into custody by the Martin County Sheriff's Office, just the county north of Palm Beach, was taken into custody after escaping the scene in his black SUV. According to the sheriff in Palm Beach, he did not make any sort of initial statement when he was taken into custody. They're expected to be releasing more details, a mugshot, whatnot later, but we're continuing to dig into who he is, who Ryan Ruth is, where he's from, his background. We're seeing a little bit online. We want to be careful and make sure we have all of the information correct before we present it to our loyal viewers. But we can tell you right now that his name is Ryan Wesley Ruth. Eric, Molly.
And we want to be careful with the information because we want to get it from authorities and not go into speculation. Any sense, though, from what you've been able to determine, what could have potentially been a motive yet? Or is it much too early, David, in terms of politics, in terms of background, the fact that the gunman allegedly had a GoPro to potentially shoot and film and video what he was going to do and put it on social media? What allegedly motivated this potential assassin?
Well, I'm going to be honest, we don't know at this time. I mean, this is coming from 2 law enforcement sources, the name. I think they're trying to figure that stuff out right now. Every case is different, but for perspective when it comes to motive, and this is a question that we've asked many times covering law enforcement, when can you decide what makes a motive? The July 13th shooter, Thomas Crooks, who died on the scene there and was killed by law enforcement, the FBI still has not been able to come out with a motive in that case, and there's a possibility there may not be a motive in this case. There were some shootings, and this was not a shooting today, and the former president thankfully was not hurt, but there are cases where there are no motives. That may not be the situation here. It's just too early to tell, given the fact this is only 4 hours old. They're still talking to him, figuring things out, going through his social media, seeing if he had stuff written down. But the advantage that law enforcement has here that they did not have in the case in Pennsylvania is they have a suspect who's alive, who's in custody, who can speak to them. so they can find out stuff a lot quicker, Eric.
Yeah, a Martin County sheriff said that he had no affect. He was blank. He really didn't say anything when he was arrested in his Nissan SUV on I-95. A remarkable job, by the way. A witness took pictures of the SUV and the license plate, so they were immediately able to put the license plate number into the computer system that, on those Easy Pass on the highway, were able to capture it, so they knew exactly what the SUV was, so they were able to pull him over. Any sense at all from what we know about him in terms of how that happened, what his planning was, even the fact that he secreted himself in bushes, and as we have been reporting here on the Fox News channel all afternoon, President Trump does not have the security level of a sitting president. That street was not closed. No one saw him in the bushes.
Exactly, Eric, and it's important to point out that the Secret Service, is equipped to take care of, obviously, protecting former presidents. But former President Trump's a different situation because he is actively running for president. He is the Republican nominee. He's out and about. He's holding rallies. He's seeing people. Other former presidents, Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, of course, they have Secret Service protection, but nothing on the level of the current president. So the Secret Service right now, per multiple sources who work in the agency, admittedly is grappling with the fact that they're dealing with a former president who's running for president again and needs to have a higher security posture, a stronger security posture out there. And with two incidents in just 2 months, a little bit over 2 months, July 13th and September 15th, it, I think, brings that to the forefront. As far as his vehicle, he was in a black SUV. What's not clear is perhaps was the SUV thought to be law enforcement. Law enforcement travels in black SUVs. That's very common. Motorcades, whatnot. It's not clear any of that right now could be the case, but it's a question that we're asking. We want to know, was the SUV something that perhaps was not overly looked at because it was an SUV that looked like a member of law enforcement's SUV? So these are all questions we need to ask. But as far as motive, as far as any other information, we just don't want to speculate. Of course, we all want to know the answers, but as of now, we just don't know those answers.
Yeah, and don't you think this will instigate calls tomorrow to ramp up the security on former President Trump?
Oh, absolutely. No question. It'll ramp up the calls to change the security, to change the perimeter, if anything, because the security apparatus, as far as the people, I spoke to someone in Secret Service today who's a rank-and-file agent and said that they did a good job in the sense that they were able to, get this suspect and see a gun pointing out through bushes. I mean, that's incredible to be able to see that. However, the perimeter is the issue that they're grappling with right now, because that perimeter should have not allowed somebody to be able to get through bushes, through a fence, and potentially harm the former president. I mean, as you heard the Palm Beach sheriff say, he was 300 to 500 yards away at a different hole, but it doesn't matter if you have a scope. It's very dangerous.
Yes. And we thank the professionalism, and the nation must give gratitude and sincere thanks to that agent who was cool, calm, and in his professionalism saw a muzzle and opened fire on that suspect to prevent a tragedy.
And David, they caught the suspect right away, which is incredible.
Absolutely.
In Martin County.
David, thank you. Molly?
You're welcome. Thanks.
Some great reporting there. Now let's bring in former alcohol, tobacco, and firearms special agent in charge, Bernard Zaper. Thank you for joining us. We just heard David Spunt there. He has excellent sourcing, and he has the name thus far, Ryan Wesley Ruth. That doesn't give us a lot of information, but he's gathering what he can as this continues to come in. But I want to get your early thoughts as we're talking about this perimeter. Here we are on the cusp of the U.S. Secret Service about to release their internal report on the last attempted assassination of former President Trump. That's expected to come out this week. And here we have another attempted assassination, someone able to set up shop, at least temporarily, there in those bushes. Who knows how long he was there? Your thoughts on what we learned so far?
Well, you can be certain that law enforcement has a tremendous amount of information. I mean, to recover a weapon, a suspect, and their vehicle is a treasure trove of information. They know everything about the firearm. They have tremendous amount of information about the subject. in this case, and there's more developing. As to motive and intent, the motive is not incredibly of importance right now. It's to find out everything about this person's life, his rings of association, and of course, the immediate and overwhelming concern is to make sure there's no other actors. In terms of today's work, I mean, I commend the Secret Service. This detail did a fantastic job. Their law enforcement partners, it was outstanding. However, as a nation, we need to be very upset and disturbed that they're still treating former President Trump as a candidate when a Trump presidency in January, we know, will cause seismic changes internationally and domestically. He already has a very high threat profile. There are so many actors domestically and internationally that would not want him to be president. It's absurd that this profile hasn't changed. And it is unconscionable that anybody would be allowed to approach this as if he was not the current president. And it's disturbing.
Yeah, and you mentioned the threat level. Sheriff Rick Bradshaw talked about how President Trump in that press conference just a few minutes ago there talked about how at this level he's not the sitting president. If he was, that they would have had these greater assets around the golf course. However, we know this is an individual that could become very soon the sitting president, was the sitting president at some point, and just survived an assassination attempt 2 months ago. Could rules be bent a little bit to try to ensure that people don't crawl into the bushes and point a gun through the fence? I mean, is there a point where that additional assets, what would it take to get the additional assets that perhaps are being thought about right now?
We have long passed that point. And any justification for this change not have been made in the last 2 months is beyond unreasonable. It's detrimental to our country. It's detrimental to our democratic republic. And it's completely 100% unacceptable. There is enough national security and criminal intelligence information that shows his threat level. And then one only has to look at the impact of a change in administration, of what it's going to have, and the unfavorable to certain groups and nation states that are acting against us right now. So to not change it, there doesn't require any additional justification. The justification was codified 2 months ago. And for this to happen again is just absurd. And all of us as citizens, we need to be upset.
You know, I only have a couple of seconds left with you, but there was a GoPro found in the bushes there. The first assassination attempt, the former president was on live television. What does that GoPro say to you?
It says self-aggrandizement, and that somebody was going to canonize themselves in whatever their devious plan was here. It's something of obviously significant concern, and none of this is by any means something we should take lightly. And I think there'll be much revealed in the coming days, but it's just another level of concern to this act, certainly.
Bernard Zapor, a former alcohol, tobacco, and firearms agent in charge. We greatly appreciate your insights, and as more information comes in on this would-be assassin throughout the evening, we've got a lot of interesting information from all of our guests. But thank you very much for your thoughts and information. Appreciate it.
Good evening.
You know, Molly, just astounding. You're right. A second time in 2 months, Ryan Wesley Ruth identified as the attempted assassin. Thankfully, it did not happen, but it seemed that we came far too close in this country yet again today. We will analyze and delve more into this. Who is he? What could be the motive? And will Congress and the White House provide more protection for a former president now targeted, it seems, twice? Our coverage continues after this.
Awkward question. Is there going to be anything
left over?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. My kids don't know what they want. You know who knows what she wants? Me! With Empower, we get all of our financial questions answered, so you don't have to worry.
Empower. What's next?
No.
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Isn't this great?
Yeah! Yeah. I can do a cartwheel in here.
Oh, hey! Would you like to join us?
No. We would love to join you.
When your kid is hurting and there's nothing you can do about it, That's the worst feeling in the world.
I don't think anybody ever expects to hear that their child has cancer. It's always one of those things that happens to somebody else, but it's definitely feels like your soul is sucked out of your body when they tell you that it's your baby. And you would do anything to get them to the best place that they can be for their treatment. And I knew with everything in my soul that that was St. Jude and that we had to get here.
Join the battle to save lives during Childhood Cancer Awareness Month by supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Please call or go online right now and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope for only $19 a month.
My name is Hunter. I'm at St. Jude because I had osteosarcoma. Osteosarcoma is a special cancer that's in the bone, so they had to amputate my leg.
You're looking at a hero. It takes a fighter. Good catch. You're looking at a hero in the fight.
My hero.
Here at St. Jude, you don't ever have to worry about how much treatment costs. You never get a bill, ever, for any of it.
This September, when you call or go online with your credit or debit card, you will receive this St. Jude t-shirt you can wear to show your support to help St. Jude save the lives of these children.
Without the donors, St. Jude wouldn't be here.
Thank you so much. You have saved so many kids.
Let's cure childhood cancer together.
Clogged gutters can cause big problems fast. Until now. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER today for your free gutter inspection.
I've had terrible flooding problems on my porch. Now I understand why.
Right now, LEAF-FILTER is offering a free inspection on your schedule. LEAF-FILTER is a permanent gutter solution, so you never have to worry about costly damage from clogged gutters again.
Call us today and schedule your free inspection.
To schedule your free inspection, call 833-LEAF-FILTER today or visit leaffilter.com.
Come on, you two. Dinner time.
I thought I was sleeping okay, but I was waking up so tired. Then I tried ZzzQuil Sleep Nasal Strips. Their 4-point lift design opens my nose for maximum airflow, so I breathe better. And we both sleep better. Better days start with ZzzQuil Nights.
This outdated DMV has 2 forms of my ID.
Think of all the places that can expose your info. LifeLock monitors millions of data points for identity theft. If there's a problem, we fix it. Guaranteed.
The suspect in what is now being investigated as a second attempted assassination of former President Trump has been identified. Authorities say his name is Ryan Wesley Roth. He allegedly poked his muzzle of his AK-47 style rifle through a chain link fence as he was hiding in the bushes of former President Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida. That's when an agent saw it and opened fire. The Trump campaign releasing the statement just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. President Trump is safe following gunshots in his vicinity. No further details at this time. Those gunshots, we now know, were fired by that Secret Service agent. Ruth now in custody. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Eric Shawn. Hi, Molly.
And I'm Molly Line. This is a special 2-hour edition of Fox Report, a tragedy so narrowly averted this afternoon. A Secret Service agent spotting that muzzle, firing at the suspect, who then fled the scene and is now in custody.
Lucas Tomlinson is live at the White House with the reaction from the president and the vice president and more on the investigation. Lucas?
Eric, the FBI says this is the second assassination attempt on former President Trump since July 13th. A press conference just wrapped up from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Let's go over some of the details. At 1:30 p.m., that was the first report of shots fired by the Secret Service outside in Trump International Golf Club where the former president was playing. We're told that a Secret Service advance team, one agent was one hole ahead of where the president was playing. He saw the muzzle peeking through the chain link fence, and that Secret Service agent immediately opened fire. The suspect jumped out of the bushes and into a black Nissan. A witness reported the car and license plate to the police. The witness had taken a photo of the car and the license plate, which helped capture the suspect in nearby Martin County. When the Secret Service went to the scene, they found an AK-47 rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks that had ceramic tiles, which indicated that this suspect was preparing to get in a shootout potentially, Eric. There was also a GoPro camera recovered, which indicates the suspect wanted to film this attempted assassination. The FBI is in leading the investigation, and what was really a big detail, Trump was only 300 to 500 yards away from the shooter when these shots rang out. That's how close that this suspect was to potentially taking out former President Donald Trump. Again, this is the second assassination attempt of the former president in almost exactly 2 months, going back to Butler, Pennsylvania. Former President Trump, we're told, is safe. President Biden has been briefed on what happened today. Vice President Kamala Harris has also been briefed, and she issued a statement as well, saying that she is also glad the former president is safe. Right now, it is notable that law enforcement are not releasing any description of the suspect. We have the suspect's name, but in that press conference, we didn't hear a whole lot of details about the suspect. It was our own Jake Gibson and David Spunt who reported the suspect's name, as you mentioned, Ryan Wesley Ruth. And right now, that investigation remains ongoing. It's not clear when we'll see the first mugshots. You're seeing right there, those are the 2 backpacks that the Secret Service agents said they found. And what's notable, there are ceramic plates, almost like in protective armor plates that you'd wear if you were going to go into combat or to get into a shootout. So it appears that the attempted assassin was prepared to get in a potential firefight with law enforcement. Or that you're seeing now Trump International Golf Club. That's where this potential assassination took place. It's notable, Eric, it's only 4.5 miles from Mar-a-Lago, where former President Donald Trump currently resides. It's only a 12-minute drive. It's not clear when this assassin started tailing the president. It's notable that this round of golf was not on the former president's public schedule. So it's not clear how he arrived at that golf course. Perhaps he was following the motorcade. It is notable this black Nissan, it doesn't bear all the hallmarks of the black SUVs that the former president would take. Those are generally, they look different than a black Nissan. But the fact that the shooter was able to run, jump in a getaway car and flee, thankfully an eyewitness had the plates, had the description of the vehicle, and that suspect was apprehended rather quickly, Eric.
And hopefully we'll learn a lot more about this suspect and possible motive potentially as soon as we can. Lucas Tomlinson at the White House, thank you. For more on this, we're joined by Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett, member of the House Oversight Committee, but looking in the previous assassination attempt. Congressman Burchett, thank you for joining us. I mean, this nation today came so close to an assassination, it seems, of the former president. Just yards, a muzzle poking through a chain-link fence, spotted by a professional advance team, a Secret Service agent who fired shots. What is it going to take for Washington to protect former President Trump more, to add security, to realize, as we heard in the news conference from the Palm Beach Sheriff County, he said, well, he's not a sitting president, we know that, but at least ramp up the level of security. Do you expect those calls to come on Capitol Hill starting tomorrow?
Well, they're already calling now. And you got to ask yourself, why was there not a drone flying over wherever the president is? This is ridiculous. This Palm Beach officer, he needs to be demoted or fired, or if he's elected, his people need to set him aside because he is not fulfilling his duty. Clearly, we have got to be careful because the power of suggestion is what we're seeing right now. The left is just ramped up their vitriol. You've seen the tweets that, they're saying something about they need to learn how to aim better and things like that. Those are the type of things that incite somebody who is on the edge. They know exactly what they're doing. This establishment, the swamp, whatever you want to call it, it's an open sewer. They have thrown down the gauntlet. They know if Donald J. Trump is elected, their days are over. We'll get this country back in order, and they will throw anything and everything at it. The problem is you've got a Secret Service, at least in my opinion and in the public's eye, that is compromised and that it lacks in leadership. And you've got brave agents on the ground, obviously, one who took that shot. But why in the world would anybody be anywhere near the perimeter of this? This line of sight that we talk about is just beyond me. So we've got to get some answers. I don't think we're going to get them during this administration, but hopefully under the Trump administration, we'll clean this rat's nest out. I mean, we've got to go through these departments like Grant through Richmond, brother. We cannot put up with this anymore.
Well, clearly we don't know the motive why the suspect, Ryan Wesley Routh, allegedly, hit himself in the bushes, but he did have a GoPro. What does that tell you? I mean, it seems that he wanted to potentially suggest to put the assassination of President Trump on social media.
100%. It's an ego thing. It's somebody that wants to be somebody. And look, these people that will never know the true story. I'm leaning towards conspiracy on this now because they put this out enough. They put it in somebody's ear. They know these type of people, how they're going to react. Somebody is putting up this kind of information out there, so these lunatics will pull the trigger on this.
It may not be a conspiracy. It could be a lone situation of a lone wolf, someone who's disturbed.
On the last one, that's what everybody said. But, we'll never know that because it's less than a few hours later, they were already washing the roof off, destroying the crime scene. And that creates an air of conspiracy at least to the American public, and you'll never be able to do that. They keep saying, trust us. Heck, we don't even know what happened to Kennedy, and that was 60 years ago, brother. Washington, D.C. does not turn loose of its secrets very easily, and the American public are right to question this. When you see hard left people putting out negative things about Trump today, saying they missed, they need to learn how to sight their guns in better and things like that. And those people are not being yanked off the air. Why is that? If it had been, good and well, and it should be, if somebody on the other side was saying that, if heaven forbid somebody on the left was shot at or was killed, there would be cause to shut those people down. But they're not doing that now. They're ramping it up, and they're allowed to do that because that is the vitriol that's coming out of Washington, D.C. and the hard left because they know they're in trouble.
Well, in terms of the roof, perhaps the FBI processed the scene. That's why it was washed off. But, others would say it's both sides. You got rhetoric from the hard right, and the level of rhetoric, of hatred, of anger, of divisiveness has been through the roof in this country. And some would say that's enough to push someone who could be mentally unstable or seek some type of glory over the edge.
Well, but you're only seeing that from the far left. And as far as the crime scene goes, dadgummit, there shouldn't have been congressmen and civilians on the roof of that building after that. If there's a crime that happens in East Tennessee, there's going to be tape out. They're going to be investigating it sometimes days later. There should have been a tent over that roof. That should have been locked down, but it was not. You basically had souvenir hunters out there, for goodness sake. So, yeah, the American public has a reason to doubt what's going on right now because they're seeing it. There is no way in hell that somebody should have been that close to President Trump with an AK-style or AK-47 or whatever it was with a scope.
Well, what if it's a lack of resources? What if it's a lack of, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what if a lack of resources? Or as we heard the sheriff say, he's not the sitting president. If he was the sitting president, that street would have been shut down. Would you call now, Congressman Burchett, for tighter security and ramping up and treating former President Trump almost to the security level of a current president?
Well, we should have been asking that about Kennedy when Joe Biden refused to give him any Secret Service. I mean, good gosh, what family has suffered more under assassins' bullets than the Kennedys, for goodness sakes? He was denied it, and that was clearly for political reasons. The president's own son going into federal court had more security than was afforded actually Mr. Kennedy. So, this is a political game. That's a bunch of bull. They have billions of dollars to play with, and Trump ought not even, they shouldn't even allow him to go outside in an open setting like that, even though who he is. Everybody knows who he is. This was one of those off-the-record things, but everybody sort of knows his pattern. They know he likes to play golf, and they know when he's in Florida, he's going to play golf. Dadgummit, they should have closed it off. They have the power to do that. They ought to do that. They're going to come to us for more money. I think they need to quit with the DEI hires and start putting qualified people out there in decision-making positions instead of what they're doing right now.
We don't know if DEI had something to do with this, but we do know that this one agent was able to, thankfully, avert a tragedy. So, bottom line from you, let's treat former President Trump on a higher level of security twice in 2 months.
Twice.
It's past time.
It's too many. Both times were due to their lack of ability. Thank God for that brave agent who took those shots.
Yep, we have to thank him. Hopefully, we'll know more about him. And we thank the Secret Service for what they did today. Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, thank you for your insight and joining us. And you know there are going to be these calls to actually get more security for the former president after this. Molly?
All right. For more, let's bring in Paul Murrow, former NYPD commanding officer and a Fox News contributor. Paul, thank you for staying with us, for rolling throughout this ongoing breaking news. And I don't think we've talked to you since the press conference that was held. What do you make of the information we have? The gun peeking through the fence, this would-be potential assassin getting this close to the area, the GoPro, your thoughts?
I got lucky again. There's no denying it, and that's not taking anything from away from the Secret Service agent on the ground who did this great job of spotting this barrel. But, you know, if the sun is in that agent's eyes, or if he was up late on a detail or something and he doesn't spot that, we have a very different story today. And the idea that Donald Trump doesn't merit increased Secret Service protection is preposterous, because it's not just about the role you hold. It's about the threat level. And here in New York, you know, the NYPD has a very robust personal protection program for city employees, city politicians, and they work with the Secret Service relative to other protectees. And if you are consistently receiving threats regarding one of those persons, then the threat protection is commensurately ramped up. And I'm a little flabbergasted. You could probably hear in my voice that is what's coming back to us here, because that's not acceptable. And that, again, does not take anything away from the service on the ground. But I think what's really emerging is the fact that the leadership is just as MIA. The agents on the ground are doing what they can with what they have, but they're shorthanded. They're not getting the resources that they need. And meanwhile, we're still not hearing from the ultimate stakeholder here. And who is that? Alejandro Mayorkas, or if you want to go even further, the sitting president, Joe Biden. But when you consider that the Secret Service total budget right now is $3.8 billion, and we're dedicating roughly 12 times that to the border, because we have this preposterous situation at our southern border, and they can't spare some of that money from the border to the Secret Service when people are threatening Donald Trump left and right, and the copycat issue remains on the table. And let me raise this. From the other side as well, this is no time for a tit for tat. We don't need now somebody to say, okay, you're going to shoot at our guy, we're going to shoot at your guy. God forbid. But this is something that really has to be looked at. And the idea that, well, we don't have enough people on the ground. I mean, what is Donald Trump going to have to do? Hire his own service, his own security, personal security? Shouldn't come to that for a guy that had his role in the government.
Yeah, I can hear how astounded you are, you know, in your voice. The sheriff there, what he said during that press conference was that the level he is right now, he's not the sitting president. When he was questioned about the level of care and the level of protection around President Trump today. And as you mentioned, here we are yet again, 2 months later. The U.S. Secret Service expected to release their internal report on the other assassination attempt from July 13th at some point this week. Here they are. When do we get this report? When do things change? Do you think that things will change in the days ahead, simply because this is such an exceptional thing yet again to have happened?
I think it has to. I mean, I think it's gotten to the point where, you know, even above the level of the Secret Service, again, the head of DHS, Alejandro Mayorkas, who is ultimately responsible for this, and then, of course, going all the way to the White House, you just can't have this optic. I mean, America is losing its stature as the place where these sorts of things are not supposed to happen. We're supposed to be the country that works. And this just can't happen at all. Before we even get to 5 November, we're going to be dealing with this kind of nonsense every couple of weeks. We can't have it. And, you know, when you consider that this person looks to me, from what I'm seeing and hearing, had a pretty good footprint out there relative to maybe, his backgrounding. Now that we have the name, this is really troubling. There's some indicia that he might have had some military experience. This could have really gone the other way. And again, we'd be having a very different conversation. Something has to change. The numbers have to be reallocated. And realistically, what has to happen here is what has not happened throughout this entire administration. And I hate to politicize this, but we're at that point. Somebody needs to be fired. I mean, really, you got to start, as they say in the police department, you got to start taking some heads. I mean, you got to start saying you need to polish up your resume because you're not doing your job. USS Service Head Cheadle resigned. She'll keep her pension. She'll be probably teaching at a university someplace. This is not the way this is supposed to go. And somebody has to take some responsibility here.
Yeah, potentially just seconds away from a very, very different story this evening. Now another investigation underway into this individual and what happened and how he got into these bushes. Paul Morrow, thank you very much. And we'll be right back with more.
Always dry scoop before you run.
Listen to me. A hot dog diet got me shredded. It's time we listen to science. One A Day is formulated with key nutrients to support whole body health. One A Day. Science that matters.
Restaurant bread. Stale policies. No cheddar. Cheddar Bay 2024 is here to clean up the crumbs. Come in now for a chance to win 4 years of free Red Lobster. Because one bite can unite all parties. At least for dinner.
This Kia Turbo Hybrid is built for all the things you've yet to do. Like taking a long drive, just to throw a monster tailgate party at an away game.
Brisket, anyone?
Do what's yet to be done. The new Kia Carnival Turbo Hybrid. Kia, movement that inspires.
I'm your football-obsessed best man, and I think you having your big day during the big game is the worst. What, are you kidding me?
Physically, I'm right here, but mentally, I'm here. Yeah, I do. Come on, speed it up. When all eyes are on you, my eyes are glued to the game. Touchdown, yeah! And if you didn't bundle your home and auto insurance, well, all of this could be tough to tackle. So get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem. Like me.
Sometimes Jonah wrestles with falling asleep, so he takes ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, and wakes up feeling like himself. Get the rest to be your best with non-habit-forming ZzzQuil. Better days start with ZzzQuil nights.
St. Jude, they gave it 110% every time. And for Kennedy to get treatment here without having to pay anything was amazing.
Missed Life, Liberty, and Levin? Now you can catch every episode the next day on Fox Nation. Never miss Mark's Insight again. Stream Life, Liberty, and Levin at foxnation.com.
Why has America accepted the wait for payday? When life doesn't wait for you to get paid. Introducing MyPay from Chime. A revolutionary new way of getting your pay when you want. Get up to $500 of your pay before payday. No interest, no credit check, no mandatory fees. When any day is payday, it's a good day. Get paid when you say with MyPay. Get started at Chime.com.
Hungry Root is here, and I needed it because my fridge is super empty.
3 p.m. to 7 p.m., it is crunch time for our family.
Honestly, I barely have time to wash my hair, let alone meal prep.
Hungry Root allows me to get everything that I need.
It's so easy to just whip together a quick, healthy meal.
Hungry Root has been a huge game changer.
Head to hungryroot.com for healthy groceries and simple recipes. Plus, get free veggies for life.
When I found out I was going to be a parent, I immediately felt a lot of anxiety and worry. So I went on to BetterHelp to try to look for a therapist to help me with that.
My relationship with my family and with my boyfriend and with myself were suffering. I really needed help.
I was ruminating a lot. Really getting those thoughts out to a therapist and getting feedback was just life-changing.
To recap our special coverage here on Fox News Channel, it has been the second attempted assassination of former President Trump in 2 months. That happened today at 1:30 this afternoon. He was playing golf at the Trump International Golf Course in West Palm Beach, Florida, when he was on the 5th hole, and a Secret Service agent who serves as an advance man a few holes ahead of him spots a muzzle sticking out of a chain link fence, the suspected gunman hiding in the bushes, aiming a AK-47 style weapon, say officials, at the former commander-in-chief, just a few hundred yards away. It was a direct shot, but thankfully it was the agent who opened fire, causing the suspect to flee, caught driving north on I-95 by Martin County Sheriff's Office. That suspect now under arrest, identified as Ryan Wesley Ruth. We don't know publicly much about him other than at the time he had 2 knapsacks that you see there hanging on that chain link fence. There were ceramic tiles inside, suggesting that he was preparing for a shootout with authorities, and a GoPro camera, which also suggests that he was planning to live stream or put on social media his hoped-for, allegedly, assassination of former President Trump. Let's bring in former FBI Special Agent Maureen O'Connell. Maureen, based on what I just said and the information we have now, what is your sense? How does the investigation go from here? And we find out what was his motive, who is he, and why he allegedly was stalking former President Trump to shoot him.
Thanks for having me. With regard to motive, I think it goes back to, what we used to call the Billy Bad Boy motive, which is he just wants to be seen as a big tough guy when in fact he knows he's not. The indications to me with regard to the ceramic ballistic plates within 2 backpacks tell me that he was going to put one on the front and one on the back, and that was going to be his way to escape from that location after he were to shoot President Trump. Also, with regard to security, I own my own company. Security is a two-way street, and although it seems, an unpopular opinion, he's right off the freeway there. I mean, at some point you have to tell President Trump, you can't golf here. You can golf maybe some other holes or maybe a different area or whatever, but this is an impossible situation until such a time that your security gets ramped up to a level that would facilitate that.
That's a good point in the sense that, we kind of take it for granted or try to that the Secret Service is so professional and the agency is that they can protect anyone. But there are times, you just pointed it out, that sometimes it could be the best efforts may not succeed. I mean, of course, there are the questions. Why wasn't the street closed? Well, it's because he's not the sitting president, we're told, by the Palm Beach County Sheriff. Why weren't more officers out there or agents? Well, it's a matter of manpower. I mean, there are some of those realistic, real-world restraints that the Secret Service has.
And I remember being a young mother when Obama was in office, and the whole west side of LA where I live would get shut down. And I mean locked down, 12 times a year when he would come here for fundraisers, or even all the presidents come here for fundraisers, as you well know. So should everyone in that area be inconvenienced because someone wants to play around a golf? I don't know. I mean, these are conversations to have. But with my clients, oftentimes I have these conversations with them saying, I understand you want all this, you want coverage, you want us to be able to see you want cameras set up everywhere, but you don't want them on the interior of your house, let's say. But certain times when someone does break in, we need to have those cameras on the inside so that we can relay that information to law enforcement if they in fact respond to a situation. The same holds true for, there are some places of worship that really don't want any cameras on the interior of that church or synagogue. And in that instance, we have to tell them too that oftentimes, if there is a law enforcement response, we really need to be able to see in there. So these conversations with clients or with, your protectees they can be difficult, but they have to be done. And I just want to give a shout out to the Eagle Eye Secret Service agent. That was outstanding work by the sheriff's deputy that pulled that person over. And when you consider that sheriff's deputy was pulling that guy over, knowing he was armed, probably ready to use it, and could potentially have been crazy, Just the amount of bravery involved in that traffic stop should just stop us in our tracks.
You know, there've been a lot of questions about the past assassination and the Secret Service and police preparedness, but man, we have to have our hats off and salute the Secret Service advanced team agent who saw, what are the chances of seeing a muzzle in the bushes in a chain link fence? That's like almost impossible. And of course, as you point out, the sheriff's deputy who pulled over that car, knowing that this suspect could have been armed. Maureen O'Connell, thank you. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You're welcome.
Oh, you wanted to add something? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, working gangs and doing warrants in rough neighborhoods my whole career, I can tell you that they were looking for more than just a muzzle. You're looking for shadows. You're looking for movements. You're looking for change in lighting. You're looking for the absence of normalcy. There's all kinds of things going through your head, and it all falls under the umbrella of keeping your head on a swivel.
Hats off. Thank you, agent, whoever you
Thank
are.
you.
I hope we will find out at some point. The president is safe. He is in good spirits, we're told. Maureen O'Connell, thank you. Our Fox News coverage of this second attempted assassination of former President Trump continues right after this.
I hear that music and my feet just start tapping. My grandchildren, they're 6th generation of dancers. It's what my family's all about. I thought I knew a lot about our Irish roots. I was surprised to learn so many more things from Ancestry. 1892.
Wow, and here's the boat they came over on. If there was a Julia Healy, a Mary Healy, this is all their names?
Yes.
Wow.
Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be seeing this. Most men over 40 look into the mirror and see this, when they could be using this. Particle 6-in-1 Face Cream for Men, the first of its kind anti-aging cream designed specifically for men. Fights eye bags, dark spots, and wrinkles. Visit ParticleMen.com and use the promo code on your screen to receive 25% off your entire order. Plus, we've got free shipping and a 30-day money-back guarantee. www.ParticleMen.com. Because seeing is believing.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
It won't be hard to find a skilled pro to fix this leak, but before I started Angie's List, different story. That was 1995, and a lot has changed at Angie since. But what hasn't changed are the issues that homeowners face. Busted pipes, kitchen renos, roof repairs, lawn care, and the solution hasn't changed either. Skilled pros to get all your jobs done well. We just made them easier to find. Hire high-quality certified pros at Angie.com.
The best way to solve a problem is to keep it from happening. At Evernorth, we combine medical and pharmacy data with behavioral health data to identify members in need of care, predicting and treating behavioral health issues quickly while lowering costs for plan sponsors and members. That's Wonder made possible. Evernorth Health Services.
Come on, you two. Dinner time.
Continuing coverage of today's apparent assassination attempt on former President Trump. More on this. Let's bring in Florida Congressman Mike Waltz. Congressman, thank you for joining me. He sits on the House Armed Services and Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, and we greatly appreciate your insights today. You, of course, have served yourself, a combat veteran. What do you make of what we're learning so far about sort of this nest that the alleged would-be assassin set up there in the bushes right outside of just a couple hundred yards from where the president was playing golf? The GoPro that was found, the equipment, the gun, your thoughts?
Well, first, I want to commend, obviously, the Secret Service agent who saw a threat and took immediate action. I want to commend the service and the FBI and our sheriffs for immediately having a press conference and informing the public of what they know when they knew it, unlike what happened after July 13th, where we literally went days without then Director Cheadle or anyone informing the public. But I want to make a very important point here. You know, this rhetoric against President Trump, this narrative that he will be the next dictator, that he is the next Hitler coming, it has got to stop. Enough is enough. Stop it on the left for doing this. It is bad enough that we have an enemy of the United States, Iran, with active plots to kill him, one of which was just stopped a few weeks ago. We now have multiple assassination attempts in a matter of months. And when you have this narrative coming from the left, from media, from elected officials even, that Trump has to be stopped by any means necessary, it shouldn't surprise anyone that these people are being radicalized and taking action like this. So my message to them, if you truly care about our democracy, as you say you do, let democracy play out with the voters and knock off this rhetoric. One person's already been killed in Butler, Pennsylvania. And but for the actions of one Secret Service agent today, there might have been more.
Yeah, I think you point to some of the things. There are some heroes on the ground today that acted with incredible bravery, not just spotting the gun, the barrel, the taking action immediately, but also chasing down this vehicle where clearly there was someone that would potentially could be a very dangerous individual. So heroes on the ground in multiple places today. But as you mentioned, this is a second assassination attempt. The first assassination attempt, very public as well, as the president was speaking behind the podium to the nation as he's the leading candidate for his party. Here today, there's a GoPro on the scene. So there does seem to be, as the sheriff even pointed out, that this may have been an attempt to broadcast something, that there is a certain attention seeking going on here. Your thoughts on that?
Well, that's right. And that's playing into this kind of public propaganda narrative that, he would be some type of potential hero in stopping an authoritarian takeover of the United States, which is how the left repeatedly is painting President Trump. I mean, they took maybe a 3-4 day pause after he almost had his head blown off on national television. President Trump even said so during the debate where he said to Kamala Harris, the things you're saying are almost got me killed. But I want to make another point. I'm a member of the Assassination Task Force. We were just briefed by Acting Director Rowe as it pertained to the July 13th assassination attempt, that President Biden ordered that former President Trump and Kamala Harris have the same level of protection that a current president, that Biden has. But I'm hearing from agents already that if that was true, if that was being implemented, you would have had a much larger presence from the Secret Service around that golf course. You would have had plainclothes officers in that tree line. You would have had more local law enforcement in place. And the Palm Beach County Sheriff essentially said the same thing. When President Trump was president, they had much more of a presence on the ground. So look, if they need more resources from Congress, if the Secret Service needs some type of new technology, if they need more resources to local law enforcement, let us in Congress know now this isn't something we can think about down the road. These plots are active, they're ongoing, and we need to give the Secret Service everything they need to keep our president safe.
Congressman Mike Waltz, thank you so much for coming on, for bringing us your information, your insights. We have been getting a lot of information about the first assassination attempt through Congress, so we greatly appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly and Congressman. Well, the suspect identified as Ryan Wesley Walth, he's in custody. No information about him has yet been released by authorities, yet the political rhetoric being blamed by some for perhaps instigating this. Why doesn't former President Trump have better security? Why was a gunman allegedly hiding in bushes just a few hundred yards from Mr. Trump without being detected? And why did it take the miracle of a gun muzzle poking through a chain-link fence seen by a Secret Service agent to potentially save former President Trump's life? Let's bring in former FBI investigator Bill Daley. I mean, Bill, there are so many questions at this hour about this, how they could have come so close. What do you think will happen on Capitol Hill this week to try and address this?
Well, a couple of things, Eric. First of all, I think, just by the mere nature of this incident and the one in Butler, is that unfortunately, I guess fortunately for those who wish to understand what the facts are behind these two situations, but unfortunately it has revealed a number of the protective measures that the Secret Service has in place for former President Trump, who might use for the protective measures across the board. I think that's going to require a change in the way they approach this, whether they get to the level of what was just mentioned by the congressman, up to vice presidential level protection. I mean, that certainly makes sense given the fact that we have a former president, a very unusual situation. We have a former president who receives protection, and he's a current candidate for presidency, and garnering all that attention and all those issues that were raised before regarding rhetoric, et cetera. So I think that by itself suggests there should be more increased security. But right now, we've already revealed some of these measures. We've talked about, the advance team moving on the golf course. We've talked about possibly use of drones. We've talked about the way agents are situated, about his close protection team. All those to somebody looking to carry out another attack is quite revealing. So I think that's going to require some change in modus operandi by the Secret Service, certainly against the former president, if not across the board to all the candidates. And Eric, when you look at this, we don't want our election being decided by an assassin's bullet. We want our electorate. We want people going to the polling places. We don't want all of a sudden by default we only can choose one candidate because the other one has been assassinated. I think this is a very critical time in our nation's history. We have 50 days to go before the election. It's only been 33 since the Butler incident. These 50 days are critical. It increases a lot of anxiety amongst the population, on both sides. And we want to make sure that all our candidates are secure so we can have proper elections.
That is absolutely the case. Absolutely. And at the same time, perhaps starting tomorrow, if not tonight, the judgment of security should be on threat level and not the position that former President Trump should receive basically the same level of protection as Vice President Harris and some would say President Biden. Bill Daley, good to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Molly?
All right, we are just waiting for the West Palm Beach Sheriff's Office to inform us about this area. Troubling incidents and reports say this man in custody, connection to the shooting, shooting a black vehicle impounded. There's a lot of information coming in right now. We have a reporter on the ground now. Dana Marie McNichol has rushed there to West Palm Beach on the ground. Dana Marie, what do you know?
Well, Molly, I can tell you that just on the other side of the street is the entrance of Trump International Golf Course. You can see the red tape. The streets surrounding the golf course have been completely shut off to the public. There's heavy law enforcement presence here. You can also notice the tall lines of shrubbery around the golf course that you can definitely show, and it shows a barrier between the public and what's inside there. Now, we also learned from the press conference that a witness was a big part in this investigation. We are now learning that this witness saw a male suspect run from the golf course bushes and jump into a black Nissan. This witness gave the plate number to the police, who were then able to pull over the suspect, who fled on I-95, the freeway here just outside of West Palm Beach. They were going to Marin County. The police was able to take him into custody. Now, during that press conference, we heard from Secret Service, who said that the agent on the golf course noticed that a rifle was pointed outside of the fence. That's when the agents were able to shoot at that suspect and that rifle. Now, the Secret Service said that they cannot confirm if the suspect was ever able to take a shot. Now, former President Trump did tell our Fox News anchor Brett Baier on the phone earlier this afternoon that he was on hole 5 when this happened, that he was put into a golf cart quickly and he was rushed right away to the clubhouse. He also says, former President Trump says to tell everyone that I'm fine, and the Secret Service did a great job. Now, the sheriff did say that an 8K-47 style rifle with a scope was found in the bushes. Along with the scope, 2 backpacks were hung on the fence, and a GoPro was also found. So this is all part of the investigation that's ongoing. We heard from a Secret Service representative who said, right now, quote, the threat level is high, and we've increased the amount of assets that we've supported. Right now, we live in danger time, unquote. Now, of course, as this investigation continues here in the Palm Beach, in the West Palm Beach area, the FBI is asking the community if they know anything. Please call the FBI tip line. This is part of the investigation that they need your help to understand more about this male suspect. They also stress that the surrounding areas will be closed, and if you do live in this area, the police are going to be working with the people here to make sure that they're able to get to and from. But of course, as you see, this is an active crime scene. We'll be gathering the latest. I'll send it back to you.
Dana Marie McNichol, thank you. There in that area that's been locked around the golf course where this latest assassination attempt, this attack on former President Trump there in West Palm Beach is underway. The suspect identified as Ryan Wesley Ruth. We're still waiting for more information on that and a dramatic amount of information about everything investigators are learning about him, about the vehicle, about his home, about all of the things that are unfolding. Still waiting on all of that information to come in. And we will be right back with more as we're getting it.
Here's why you should switch from Google to DuckDuckGo on all your devices. DuckDuckGo comes with a built-in search engine like Google, but it's private and doesn't spy on your searches. And DuckDuckGo lets you browse like Chrome, but it blocks cookies and creepy ads that follow you around from Google and other companies. And there's no catch. It's free. We make money from ads, but they don't follow you around. Join the millions of people taking back their privacy by downloading DuckDuckGo on all your devices today.
The DraftKings Sportsbook app is completely changing the way fans enjoy sports because it has the power to make the regular season feel like a Game 7, every touchdown a game winner, and every fight a heavyweight championship. And signing up and adding money on DraftKings has never been easier. So to get started, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app to get in on the action with this great offer. DraftKings Sportsbook has all the sports you love and all the ways to bet on them. From money lines and spreads to parlays and props. Whatever you want to bet on, you can bet it's on DraftKings. Think you know which team will bring home the W? Place a money line bet. And if they win, cha-ching, you do too. And if you feel like they're going to set the scoreboard on fire, bet the over. An over-under is a bet on the total points scored in a game. Got a hunch that your favorite player is about to go off? You can bet on their individual stats with prop bets. From how many birdies or threes to tackles and runs, these bets can take your games to the next level. And with parlays, you can combine multiple bets for an even bigger payout. If you want to get locked into a single game, you can place a same-game parlay where you combine bets all in the same event. Don't forget that if you download the app and sign up today, you get this great offer. And now DraftKings Sportsbook gets you closer to the action of the games you love than ever before with live betting. That's right, bet in real time on the next pitch, play, point, or basket the moment before it goes down. And withdrawing your money with DraftKings has never been easier. DraftKings Withdrawal Tracker shows you where your money is every step of the way as it speeds to you. So get in on the action with this limited time offer from DraftKings Sportsbook when you download the app and sign up today. The crown is yours.
In a crisis, your number one need is food. But if you wait to stock up, all you'll find at the grocery store are empty shelves. But here's the good news. 4 Patriots is offering a special buy one, get 2 free deal on its best-selling 72-hour survival food kits. This kit has 20 servings of delicious food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, all designed to last for 25 years. Go to 4patriots.com. This deal won't last. Go to 4patriots.com now.
75% of Americans had their social security numbers exposed in recent data breaches, and the threats are more than you realize. If you're a victim of identity theft, LifeLock works to fix it on your behalf, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. Enroll now.
This is the moment I've been waiting for.
Who knows where it will lead?
I promised myself I wouldn't get dragged back in.
It's an addiction.
How can I refuse?
Cerevital Advanced has been such a game changer for me.
Cerevital Advanced increases your body's own youth hormone, reduces wrinkles, and promotes weight loss.
I see such a difference in my skin. I notice fewer wrinkles. My skin looks healthier. It was easier to get lean.
I literally shed a few pounds in the first couple of weeks.
It does give me that feeling of just being radiantly alive.
Cerevital Advanced, the #1 anti-aging therapy in America.
When you can't watch, listen. Get the latest news, business, and news headlines on SiriusXM. Anytime, anywhere. Fox News Audio on SiriusXM. America is listening.
Our continuing coverage of the apparent assassination attempt on former President Trump continues. Thankfully, it was foiled. The suspect, identified as Ryan Wesley Roth, is in custody. No information about it has yet been released by authorities or about his motive. Police say he had a GoPro with him, suggesting that he intended to stream the shooting of the former president on social media. This, as you know, the second attempt on the former president's life, which raises more questions about the level of security that he's given and why it has not been increased. Lucas Thomason with the very latest from the White House. Hey, Lucas.
Good evening, Eric. That's right. The FBI says this is the second assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump in the last 2 months. We're told that President Biden and Vice President Harris have been briefed on the situation. Earlier at a press conference with the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, the sheriff explained why former President Donald Trump did not have more security and why that perimeter surrounding Trump International Golf Club was not more secure.
At this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible. So I would imagine that the next time he comes at a golf course, there'll probably be a little more people around the perimeter. But the Secret Service did exactly what they should have done.
Fox News has learned the suspect's name is Ryan Wesley Roth. Here are some more details from that press conference. A number of photos were also released showing exactly the aftermath. And at 1:30 this afternoon, a Secret Service agent opened fire when he spotted the muzzle of a rifle sticking out of a chain link fence, as you can see here, surrounding the golf club. The agent had just been one hole ahead of where Trump was playing a round of golf and expected to play through. Trump was on the 5th hole at the time, as we heard from our own Sean Hannity earlier, spoke with the former president. Now, after the Secret Service agent opened fire, the suspect fled in a black Nissan SUV, leaving behind an AK-47 rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks with ceramic plates, essentially the same kind of plates you find in body armor, Eric, and a GoPro camera was also recovered. The suspect, the sheriff said, was just 300 to 500 yards away from the former president while he was playing golf. The Palm Beach County Sheriff said that is not a long distance, end quote, when a scope is involved. A witness saw the suspect fleeing, took a photo of his car and license plate, as you can see here. That alerted police, and they were able to nab the suspect, Ryan Roth, who was in nearby Martin County up I-95. We are awaiting his mugshot after his booked. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris, in a tweet about this incident, said, quote, "I have been briefed on reports of gunshots fired near former President Trump and his property in Florida, and I am glad he is safe. Violence has no place in America." Now, Trump International Golf Club is just a 12-minute drive from Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, just 4.5 miles away. The president always travels in a motorcade when he leaves the club. Perhaps that's where this potential assassin was scoping out the former president. Eric?
All right, Lucas, from the White House, thank you. For more, let's bring in former Secret Service Special Agent in Charge, Frank Loveridge. He spent 22 years with the agency, including as supervisor in the Presidential Protection Division during President Obama's second term. Mr. Loveridge, thank you. First, we have to recognize and commend the professionalism of the agent on the advance team. I mean, who saw that muzzle in a chain link fence with the gunman allegedly hiding in the bushes. But honestly, why did it even get to that? It should never have gotten to that point where we're a hair's breadth away from losing a former president of the United States. What do you see should have been done potentially, and why wasn't the street closed?
Well, thank you for having me on. The first thing, I've been on the golf course with President Bush and with President Obama, and the methodology that we use to protect them is a pitch and catch strategy where we move with them down the golf course. But when you have a perimeter that's tight with concealment from bushes, and thank God the Secret Service agent was able to see that muzzle and be able to attempt to neutralize the shooter. If that hadn't happened, it could have been a very bad day today. So one thing we need to do is we need to start giving President Trump, former President Trump, the assets he needs. I know we've moved in that direction. I know that Acting Director Ron Rowe is doing his best now to beef up the detail, put the right people there. But we have to expand that perimeter. We have concealed locations, and we need to make sure that we have those posted, and they should be swept prior to the event.
Talk about sweeping. I mean, would local police perhaps look through the bushes? Why? Maybe that was done, and he came in after that. But wouldn't that be just 101?
Well, 101 is when you sweep, you have to hold it. So once you've swept it and cleared it, you have to put someone there with eyes on it to make sure no one comes back in. And that may or may not have happened. Once again, it's too late to tell. But from what I see and what I've heard at this short time since the event occurred, Secret Service did a great job at evacuating the president out of there. Unfortunately, we can't let people get that close with a weapon to the president. 300 to 500 yards away, a shooter with a weapon. We've got to clear those areas, and we've got to post them so that no one can hide and get the advantage and make it become an action versus a reaction.
I mean, that just seems basic. Why do you think that wasn't done now, or why isn't it done? We saw what happened, in Butler. You just hit on the head. I mean, 300 yards with an AK-47 style rifle and a scope. That's it.
Yeah, it's too close. And obviously, we got to do a better job at securing the perimeter. And we have to make sure that we push that perimeter out so we don't have anyone sitting with a rifle ready to take out a former president of the United States.
On Capitol Hill, the task force on the attempted assassination of former President Trump, they say they're concerned about political violence. They want a briefing with the Secret Service on this. Of course, they may have to change the name to the attempted assassinations of former President Trump, sadly. I mean, what will it take, from your experience, for us not to worry about this, for this not to happen again, especially as it has twice in the last 2 months?
It's unconscionable, the fact that we're talking about this just a little over 2 months after the first assassination attempt. We've got to do a better job. They know that. The bottom line is President Trump needs to get the resources that we would give the President of the United States. I had that luxury when I was in the president's detail for 9 years. We had every asset that you could ask for. We had police, local, state. We had K-9 units. He needs that. He needs that now. It's obvious. Second attempt. Just think back in just July 12th, the day before the first assassination attempt, we arrested a Pakistani national with ties to Iran, who one of the targets he was looking at was President Trump. The threat is real, and we need to make sure we do a better job at pushing out the perimeter and making sure we're not dealing with a man with a rifle.
Yeah, ironically, I'll be in court tomorrow. The Pakistani suspect, a Pakistani man who is charged, will be arraigned here in New York City for that very conspiracy. He had spent some time in Iran, and there is also concern about Iran's threats. We know that they want to try to assassinate former President Trump and other high-level officials for retaliation of the killing of Soleimani. That we don't know if that was this. No indication yet. Any indication, do you think, when we'll find out about this suspect's motive, more about the suspect, whether he was a lone wolf, whether there were 30 seconds left, any political bent, or that rhetoric that many have claimed potentially fuel this?
Well, we got to let the FBI do their job. What we need to know is who is he associated with on social media, check all the records to see if he has any ties to anyone back overseas, if this was state-sponsored. I mean, there's a lot of things. He just might have been a lone wolf. We don't know that yet. But we need to do our research, and we need to do it quickly, because the big mistake we made last time was not communicating to the American people, and they deserve to know.
Yep, they do. And we will find out. Frank Leveridge, thank you. Our coverage continues after this.
If you have to cut, pack, drive, scout, weld, stack, feed, pull, load, tow, drop, and haul all in a single day, then you just have to get in the seat of the new John Deere Gator XUV. Learn more at your John Deere dealer.
Always dry scoop before you run. Listen to me. The hot dog diet got me shredded.
It's time we listen to science. One A Day is formulated with key nutrients to support whole body health. One A Day, science that matters.
Introducing Hallmark Plus. Featuring exclusive movies and series you can't see anywhere else. This could be huge for us. Plus exclusive gifts, benefits, and more.
All you need is an open heart.
Everything you love about Hallmark in one place.
We're going to make something special here.
The all-new Hallmark Plus. Stream joy, earn rewards, share love. Start your free trial at hallmarkplus.com.
Israel is under attack.
The war against Israel began with the murder of hundreds of precious children. In this orphanage bomb shelter, we're praying for God's help, praying to Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Countless Israelis are enduring the devastating anguish of lost loved ones. Thousands of rockets have forced over 100,000 Israelis to become refugees in their own homeland.
Israeli families are in crisis. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground, reaching Jewish people of all ages, children, mothers, the elderly, even Holocaust survivors. But we can't do it without you. Your gift of $45 will make sure that the people of Israel have mobile bomb shelters, emergency supplies, and the hot, nutritious meals that they so desperately need.
Our teams are working on the ground, often at great risk to themselves. They're delivering meals to the elderly and families who are living in bomb shelters.
This would be an incredibly important time for all of the friends of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews to stand with our friends in Israel. Let them know that we are not only praying for the peace of Jerusalem, but we're also praying and acting in their interest because we believe it's what God would have us do.
I simply can't stress enough the urgency of this situation. It's more dire than ever before. This is your moment. This is your opportunity to make a life-saving difference.
It's your prayers and gifts that give hope to the people of Israel. Call, scan, or visit our website now to make your life-saving donation.
Why has America accepted the wait for payday? Introducing MyPay from Chime. Get up to $500 of your pay before payday. No interest, no credit check, no mandatory fees. Get paid when you say. With MyPay. Get started at Chime.com.
This outdated DMV has two forms of my ID.
Think of all the places that can expose your info. LifeLock monitors millions of data points for identity theft. If there's a problem, we fix it. Guaranteed.
The big weekend show begins with a Fox News alert, a second assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump.
1:30 this afternoon, call came out, shots fired. That was called in by the Secret Service. In the bushes where this guy was is a AK-47 style rifle with a scope, two backpacks which were hung on the fence that had ceramic tile in them, and a GoPro. The Secret Service agent that was on the course did a fantastic job. What they do is they have an agent that jumps one hole ahead of time to where the president was at. And he was able to spot this rifle barrel sticking out of the fence and immediately engage that individual, at which time the individual took off.
Tonight, former President Trump is safe and well after being targeted while golfing at the Trump International Golf Club. The suspected gunman's car was pulled over by Martin County Police, where he was taken into custody. Also found at the scene where shots were fired were weapons hanging on a fence. This comes just over 2 months after the former president survived a first assassination attempt during his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Joining us now to discuss, the host of Hannity, Sean Hannity. Sean, thank you so much for being here tonight, especially because you've been talking to the former president tonight and his family. How are they doing?
Well, President Trump is fight Trump. I mean, it's interesting. I had gone to breakfast with Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff is a brilliant developer, businessman in Florida, a good friend of mine, good friend of the president's. We went to breakfast. He was trying to get me to go play golf with him. I really don't play a lot of golf. And I said, thank you, but I got work to do. And anyway, so he called me not long after this happened, and I spoke to him numerous times. I spoke to President Trump numerous times. And they both described pretty much the same scene. Steve probably gave me more details in terms of what was happening because he was the observer of the Secret Service that was on duty. He couldn't say enough in terms of praising them and the people around the president and how quickly they were to jump on him, get him in a very fast golf cart that was secure, and get him back to safety immediately. Then Steve followed. When Steve walked back into the clubhouse, he heard the president asking, "Where's Steve? Where's this person? Where's that person?" And once the president was assured that everybody was safe, then he started joking and he said, I was shooting an even round and I had a birdie putt and I really wish that I could have finished that hole. And that was how he handled it. But we've learned a lot since then. And I want to say this through the prism of so many members of my family, extended family, have been in law enforcement. My own parents connected to law enforcement in different capacities. And I love the Secret Service, and the guys that were there with the president were amazing. Steve Witkoff will explain all of this on my show tomorrow night. However, when we were watching that press conference with law enforcement today, one thing really I found alarming and glaring when they pointed out that the shooter with an AK-47 and a scope was 300 to 500 yards away from where the president was, and that there was a tree line and that there was a fence, and he was firing through the fence, and he had 2 backpacks and a GoPro, which would indicate he probably wanted to videotape or memorialize what he was doing, which is scary too. We'll find out, I'm sure, more in the days to come. But this is my problem, and this goes back to Butler, PA. And if you remember earlier in the week, Connecticut Senator Blumenthal made the comment, when Americans find out what happened in Butler and the level of failure that took place there, and originally we're told that it was a sloped roof that made it impossible for the Secret Service to safely secure the area, and it turned out that it was not a sloped roof. And when we find 300 to 500 yards away from not only a former president, as they said, but a top presidential candidate, is unacceptable. And you have to secure the perimeter, because if anybody knows anything about shooting, you know that is the equivalent pretty much of a layup, or if you're a golfer, that would be a 1-foot putt that you're not going to miss 99% of the time. And that in and of itself is a problem. And what they said was, well, he's not the current president. No, but he's a former president who just survived a recent assassination attempt, and he's the current presidential candidate for the Republican Party, and we have an election in 51 days. And we need answers. Why didn't they have either security cameras? Why didn't they have motion detectors? Why didn't they have somebody outside on the street where the shooter was located looking in on this? I do applaud the snipers that identified that there was somebody that had a gun and took their shots. We don't have all the details yet, but when those details become available, I think it'll be very revealing. But somebody in this position, this is a security failure again. And there's really no other way to put it. And I don't know why. I'm sure we'll get answers in the days to weeks to come. This interim report that Congress is going to put out, if it is as Senator Blumenthal, the Democrat from Connecticut, describes, as Americans will be appalled and shocked by what we learn in terms of the security failures in Butler, I can only imagine how people are going to react to what happened here. There are more questions than answers tonight, Alicia, and by the way, and Charles and Joe and everybody there. And I got to be honest, it's disturbing. Just to give you a little bit of detail as to what happened when the shooting occurred. Steve Witkoff described it to me this way. The president confirmed the story. They heard pop, 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 pop. They knew it was a gunshot. Immediately, within seconds, the president was on the ground, covered by brave Secret Service agents that did their job, protected the president, immediately got him out of the area and to safety. And then everybody else followed thereafter. So they did their job. They were amazing in terms of how quickly they responded here. But to not have that perimeter with a fence, a treed area, and somebody has the ability to get within that range of the president with a scope on an AK-47 is just simply unacceptable.
Hey, Sean, Charlie here. Hey, Charlie. It's interesting. I was struck by the same thing that you were struck by during that press conference, talking about the lower level of security in this case. And it made me think immediately the former First Lady, especially given that powerful video she released, I think it was last week sometime, talking about her concern for her husband. In your conversations with the former president today, did you get a sense, did you talk to any family members, or did you get a sense about where they are on all of this?
Well, it's interesting. I did talk to Eric Trump, and both Eric Trump and Don Jr. happen to be superb marksmen. And Eric Trump, it just so happens, was telling me earlier today with some top-notch sharpshooters, some of the best in the country, they were hitting targets from a mile away. That ought to give people a little bit of perspective in terms of what the perimeter needs to be for any top candidate or elected official. The perimeter can't be 300 to 500 yards because that's considered an easy shot by anybody that has any level of skill. Now, Eric was, to be honest, pretty emotional and said the words to me, how many more lives does my father have here? In terms of, he can only dodge so many bullets. Wow. And he rightfully is upset. And knowing firearms as well as he does, he makes a compelling case. And I'm going to put him on tomorrow night, and he's going to describe this in his own way and how he felt. The whole family has to be upset. I remember the last time when this happened in Butler, poor Barron Trump found out somebody ran over to him and said, your dad's shot, we think he's dead. For a kid that's about to go off to college, I don't think that's a great moment in his life, and probably a very traumatic one for him. And for the entire family, and I feel horrible for this family for all that they have gone through. So much of it has been unfair, but just to stay focused on this, the president tends to shrug this off himself. The president shook the hands, according to my friend Steve Witkoff, of every single person that was out there protecting him. He thanked every one of them for protecting him. He was grateful to all of them. And that just happens to be the way it is. He happens to be. It's a side of him that I wish he would show more often to the American people. But that does not negate the question, Charlie, and I think we're tracking on this very important issue. You've got a tree line, you've got a fence, you're only 300 yards away from where the presidential candidate, former president is, and you got a clean shot. And if it wasn't for one very top-notch Secret Service agent that was able to stop that threat by taking his own shot, I don't know where we would be again today. I mean, the last time we're talking about a millimeter and the president would not be alive today. We would have had a state funeral for Donald Trump back after Butler. So I think there's a lot of questions that got to be answered. This interim report that'll be coming out from Congress I think is going to be very revealing.
Sean, it's Molly here. I'm having this remarkable deja vu because the last time I saw you in person, we were outside of Bedminster outside of the golf club where he had just survived the prior assassination attempt. And now here we are in the same situation where it's remarkable that the former president is still alive. Remarkable that we're talking about security failures, the bravery, of course, of the people on the ground there, of the Secret Service agent that was one hole ahead and created where we are today. We're thankfully not holding a state funeral of types. Your thoughts on where this goes as we're still waiting for the first interim report to come out on the prior assassination attempt.
Molly, on so many levels, you're so right. And I remember the conversation we had about this very topic. But if you think of the distance of 300 to 500 yards and the idea, regardless of what the resources are, if you don't have enough resources to cover outside of a tree-lined fenced area when the former presidential candidate is playing golf, that is a security vulnerability failure of a magnitude I can't even describe, especially in light of, I might add, the FBI director, Christopher Wray, the last 5 times he has been to Capitol Hill, and I've had my criticism of Director Wray, but the last 5 times he's been there, he has been clear, he has been unequivocal that the threat level in this country has never been greater than it is right now, and that it is coming from everywhere. So that would tell me we need more resources, not just for President Trump, but for the vice president, for the president, and any other high-ranking official or anybody that might have specific direct threats, or if they have direct intelligence about a specific threat. There's got to be a reevaluation here, especially after these 2 incidents, and we've got to get to the bottom of why these security failures keep happening. One of the things that really bothered me about Butler, again, go back to what we were first told. We were told, well, the reason we didn't have officials or snipers on the roof was because it was a sloped roof. Well, there was an adjacent building with a greater pitched sloped roof, and they did have snipers on that roof. And this was pretty much, I would describe it as a roof without a slope. And I say that as somebody that knows a little bit about a sloped roof because I fell off a roof 3 stories when I was in construction many years ago and broke up my face and busted up my arm. And I always say to people, I woke up after hitting my head and I was a conservative. It knocked some sense into me. Trying to be funny, not really. But there's nothing funny about what's going on here. The security threat is real. And one of the things that really has troubled me about the Harris-Biden administration, without trying to get too political, the fact that we have allowed in 11 million unvetted illegal immigrants into this country. We have dozens of Americans we know that have been murdered and raped and victims of violent crime. And the worst part is we know we have known terrorists in the country. I've been saying this on my radio show and right here on this news channel, on my TV show, that it is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. But I pray to God that I'm wrong, that those terrorists that we know are in the country, and the Biden administration will not release the names of the countries that they know that they are from. Fox News Digital has been requesting that for a long time. But they are here, and I believe that they are plotting and planning and scheming their next 9/11 or worse on this country. And it is the greatest national security threat we face, and all of it was preventable, and that bothers me a lot.
Sean, it's Joe Concha. We're 9 weeks and one day since Donald Trump nearly lost his life by a millimeter in Butler, Pennsylvania. Right. He turned his head towards that screen to read a chart. If he doesn't do that, he was killed. Right. And now here we are, 64 days later, and the president nearly loses his life again. What really bothered me about what happened then was how quickly the media did not talk about that story, did not talk about the suspect. Within like 2 weeks, before we knew it, it's as if it never happened. Does this happen here again? Because we cannot create a new normal around a president nearly being assassinated, but yet that's what happened last time. Do you think this happens again here?
Well, Joe, your media analysis is always spot on, and I think you're right about this in more ways than you may know. You're right. It kind of got pushed to the side, and we've kind of been ignoring all of that. And what really bothered me, if we have unfortunately, sadly, tragically covered too many school shootings over the course of our careers, all of us on this program tonight, and when you think about most of those school shootings, we know within hours who the person is. We've identified where they stand politically on social media. We start learning about their background. Maybe they had trouble or problems or whatever it happened to be. We know more within 5 hours than we learned in a month after Butler, PA, and that is troublesome.
She thinks him.
So I think that at the end of the day, that we really need more information and not less information when it comes to shootings like this, and the media needs to not ignore this. I don't want to see any elected official ever in any situation where they're threatened, and this is not political for me in any way. And I want our nation safe and secure. And that's why I don't want defund, dismantle, and no bail laws. That's why I want a border wall. That's why I want vetting for people coming into this country. I want background checks. I want health checks. I want a means test so you're not a financial burden on the American people. These are simple solutions. The American people will sort the political side of this out in 51 days, but this has got to be a top-of-mind issue. Our safety, our security in our towns and our cities, at our border, and I think Americans, you can't pursue happiness if you're not safe and secure. And the media has a job to cover it. The media has not shown the video. They don't mention the names of the people that have been murdered and raped and victims of violent crime. I think one of the most underreported stories, politically speaking, I'm transitioning a little bit here, is the fact that Kamala Harris laughed at Donald Trump and his border wall. He says a bunch of terrorists are going to want to invade the country. Well, now we have hundreds of them in the country, and we have people from Iran and Syria and Egypt and Afghanistan, tens of thousands from China and Russia and Venezuela. And they are in the country, and we see the result of it. But then she takes it a step further. She wants free housing, health care, education, and free sex change surgery for illegal immigrants. And most Americans don't know this yet, and voting starts early this week in Pennsylvania. Now, that is a disservice from the media that you cover, Joe, better than anybody, to the entire country. Because America, if they're going to have a really, really fair choice in November, they need to know about this. Now, I'm going to make this challenge. And for the record, when the Biden administration wouldn't give Robert F. Kennedy Jr. a Secret Service protection, even though I disagree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., in light of his family background, his uncle was murdered, his father was murdered, they were both assassinated, they denied him Secret Service protection for the longest time until after the shooting in Butler, and I had been advocating for him to get that. The minute after he supported Donald Trump, that was it. They took his Secret Service protection away. That, to me, they need a complete reevaluation of who in the political arena needs support. And one other issue that is political that I will bring up. We need to re-examine what happened in the summer of 2020. We had 574 riots. We had dozens of dead Americans. We had thousands of cops injured with bricks, rocks, bottles, Molotov cocktails. We had billions of dollars in property damage. Vice President Walz would not call in the National Guard. Opened up the windows of his family home to smell burning rubber, the smell of freedom, or whatever he called it. And Kamala Harris, 4 days after a police precinct in Minneapolis was burned to the ground, she was out tweeting out a bail fund to let the rioters out of jail, then goes on with Colbert and says, those rioters aren't going to stop. They shouldn't stop. And we're not going to stop. Well, where's Liz Cheney when you need her? Because that kind of sounds like rioting and insurrection support. So I think these are political issues that I know you're going to be talking about the rest of the hour.
Well, we will for sure. Sean, it's Alicia again. I just have one more question. Just wondering, when there was a reporter in that news conference earlier who said that there were 25 of us, referring to the reporters, wondering how this was able to happen. And then the sheriff said, he's not the sitting president. In the room that I was sitting in, everyone gasped. Is this a moment for President Biden where where the onus is on him to go above and beyond all protocols and make a decision? We're 51 days from the election that Donald Trump needs the kind of protection that he deserves.
I think it's been a moment for them since Butler. I think it was a moment. I think they should have had the common sense to give Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in light of what happened to his father and his uncle being assassinated. He deserved Secret Service protection. There were a few of us that were outspoken, begging for it on his behalf, even though I don't have a political agreement with him on a lot of issues. I think that after Butler, there was some improvement. But how did somebody get within 300 yards of Donald Trump with a scoped AK-47 and have an ability come within really seconds of assassinating him again? How is that possible? That is not, for those that know firearms and know rifles, that is not a difficult shot. The shot in Butler, as Joe pointed out, it is a miracle that man is alive today. And as Eric Trump said, how many more lives will my father have? How many more assassination attempts is he going to be able to withstand? This is beyond Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They need the resources to cover the entire perimeter for every presidential candidate, every elected official at the highest level. And that means the perimeter is defined by any distance by which somebody with a high-powered rifle can reach a target with a certain degree of with any degree of accuracy, and they've got to do a better job. 300 yards is a layup shot for anybody with a marginal amount of skill. It is sad.
All right, Sean
Tragic.
Hannity, thank you so much for joining us and especially for letting us know that the president's doing okay today. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Speaking of, Vice President Kamala Harris just reacted to the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. We have Lucas Tomlinson. He is live at the White House with this new information. Lucas, to you.
That's right, Molly. Taking to Twitter, Vice President Kamala Harris said, quote, "I have been briefed on reports of gunshots fired near former President Trump at his property in Florida, and I am glad he is safe. Violence has no place in America." Now, the FBI says this is the second attempted assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump in the last 2 months. Many reporters, as you just mentioned, Alicia, were asking the question, why wasn't the perimeter more secure around Trump International Golf Club, where the former president was playing around today? Here's how the Palm Beach County Sheriff answered that question.
At this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. Well, because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible. So I would imagine that the next time he comes to the golf course, there'll probably be a little more people around the perimeter. But the Secret Service did exactly what they should have done.
And Molly, this is what the Secret Service did at 1:30 this afternoon. A Secret Service agent opened fire when he spotted the muzzle of a rifle sticking out from a chain link fence surrounding the golf club. The agent fired off 4 to 6 shots and was just one hole ahead of where Trump was playing and expected to play through. Trump was on the 5th hole at the time, as we heard from Sean Hannity earlier. Now, after the Secret Service agent opened fire, the suspect fled in a black Nissan SUV and left behind an AK-47 AK-47 rifle with a scope, 2 backpacks with ceramic plates, essentially the same kind of plates you find in body armor, and a GoPro camera was also recovered. The suspect was just 300 to 500 yards away from the former president. The Palm Beach County Sheriff said it's not a long distance when a scope is involved, and we just heard Sean say the same thing. That suspect has been identified, according to Fox News, as Ryan Wesley Ruth. Now, a witness saw him fleeing in that Nissan SUV, took a photo, quick action, took a photo of the license plate, alerted police. The suspect, Mr. Ruth, was then nabbed in nearby Martin County to the north while traveling on I-95. There are those plates I told you about from the backpacks that were recovered at the scene, and you can see the AK-47 style rifle that was recovered. Now, Trump International Golf Club is just a 12-minute drive from nearby Palm Beach and Mar-a-Lago. Of course, that's where the former president resides, just 4.5 miles away. It's not clear how this potential assassin was tipped off. This was not on any of the former president's schedules. Nobody knew he was going to play except for his inner circle. Of course, the former president likes to play golf. There's no secret there. It's just not clear right now how this potential assassin was scoping out the former president. Did he follow the motorcade out of Mar-a-Lago and then go to the club, or was he already waiting there when the president teed off this afternoon, Molly?
All great questions. Lucas Tomlinson giving us a great breakdown of all the information that we have so far as we get ready to continue asking more questions. Lucas Tomlinson from the White House, thank you. There are questions about security for the former president, of course, questions about how this happened. We have former FBI agent and Fox News contributor Nicole Parker joining us now. Nicole, thank you for your insights tonight. As we've watched all of this unfolding and a lot of the unanswered questions, we're looking for information more about this suspect. What are your insights? About what we know and what we can gather from the nest there on site as they continue to go through the vehicle and the house and seek more information?
Right. I have a few comments. First of all, I've been watching your programming. Sean Hannity is spot on. I don't know how many attempts against President Trump it's going to take for them to realize he deserves the full amount of security possible. I mean, this is unacceptable, and this cannot become the new norm. This is my concern, is that so many people are like, oh, it's happened again. It's happened again. We cannot become numb to this happening. This is President Trump's life. And I imagine his family, I mean, his loved ones, they have to go through this again. And the election, you know, we've got some time to go. And he is very much on people's radars, and we know this. And Christopher Wray has come out and talked about all of these threats. Iran has threats against President Trump. We have local, officials saying that President Trump is a huge threat to democracy. Do you think that is going to embolden individuals to say, you know, I've got to do whatever I have to do to get rid of him? That rhetoric has got to end, regardless of where you stand on the political spectrum. Violence is not okay. And violence against any political individual is not okay. Violence against any American is not okay. And I think we've almost become numb to it because of many points that Sean Hannity made. People pouring across the border. I mean, it is extremely dangerous. But in light of this specific incident, they mentioned, you know what, he did get more detail as a result of what happened, on July 13th. Well, where was that? I live here in South Florida. I was an FBI agent in the FBI Miami division. I've been to Palm Beach. I've been to that golf course, and that location where he was, there's a bus stop literally within a couple hundred feet from that golf course. Any individual can go up to that chain link fence or wherever it might be. Hedges are not enough. They are not enough. We must honor and respect the Secret Service agent who was able to see that muzzle sticking through the fence. I mean, that is impressive. And again, coming from law enforcement, I can speak from personal experience. They changed the deadly force policy for DOJ after the summer of 2020, and it really felt like they were giving less protection to the, and specifically for us, the FBI agents. I know that's a similar sentiment likely throughout all of law enforcement, where when you are faced with a task, a threat, you do start to double and triple guess yourself. Am I authorized to use deadly force? Because now they come after law enforcement. They'll say, you know what, you weren't authorized and now you're going to get charged. We saw that happen quite frequently, especially in the summer of 2020. So I have to say thank you to the Secret Service agent who had the wherewithal to say, this is an immediate threat and I need to take action now. You do not have time. It's called action versus reaction. And again, we need to back up our law enforcement. You never want to have to use deadly force when you don't have to and use your firearm. But when it is justified, it is important to act. And that potentially saved President Trump's life.
Nicole, Charlie Hurt here. One thing I was just kind of struck by was in Lucas Tomlinson's report just a minute ago. He said that a very small group of inner circle were the only people who knew the president was playing golf today. If you're investigating this as the FBI, is that seems to me to be a place that you might start to try to get to the bottom of, well, who did know he was playing today?
And that's an excellent question. And frankly, that's one of the questions I have. And listening to all of the reporting as an investigator, I'm sitting here writing my own list of questions, and that is definitely on my list. I want to know, first of all, and I'm just going to kind of run down a few of the questions I have. First of all, is the suspect talking? Is he talking, or is he stayed quiet with law enforcement? And I want to know what he's saying. Was that GoPro active? The camera that he had, was that activated or was it not? The social media accounts, what did he last post? What is his grievance? Why would he be motivated to do something like this? Again, that's not going to come across through social media accounts, talking to him himself, people that know him, reading his text messages, his emails. The digital footprint is powerful. They impounded that car, the vehicle. Of course, physical evidence is always very important, but the forensics on the digital footprint and platform, likely an infotainment system in the car, that is going to be extremely telling for law enforcement. Having worked these types of investigations, I worked the Cesar Sayoc pipe bomb case in the Miami division, and we immediately impounded the vehicle. It was taken back to the FBI field office in the Miami division, and you execute a full search warrant. There is not one aspect that goes unnoticed when you're executing those warrants. And I know some very amazing FBI agents in the Miami division. The SAC for the Miami division mentioned that all resources will be offered. The evidence response team and others, they're going to be meticulously conducting this investigation. Again, who was this individual? How did he know? Going back to your original question, how did he know? Was he from the Florida area? Was he from South Florida? Is he from a different state? Did he fly in for this? That is extremely, extremely important to know and understand. Again, President Trump, he lives a high pressure life. He's out there doing these rallies out there doing everything he can to work towards this election. He has the right to play golf. He has the right to have a day of peace where he doesn't have to be going full throttle and full force. He should have the right to play peacefully a round of golf with his friends. What has our country come to? That is now dangerous for him to be able to relax for even a moment to play golf? We are literally fighting a battle between good and evil. And I'm just going to tell you, I saw it every day in the FBI. I saw these individuals, they have no respect for human life. But going back to what was this person's grievance? Why did they think it was appropriate? We just went through this on July 13th. They obviously thought, hey, you know what? They weren't deterred by that. They weren't deterred even by the shooter being killed. They thought, you know what, I'm still going to do this. They obviously had a motive and a grievance that was so strong that they didn't care. And that to me is very telling and very chilling and very dangerous.
Hey, Nicole, it's Joe Concha. Jill Biden, back on July 13th, had infinitely more protection than Donald Trump did in Butler, Pennsylvania, despite being a far more, for lack of a better word, coveted or bigger target than Jill Biden was, obviously. So what is the process as far as who dictates how Trump gets more